Let's look at our first match. As we mentioned, it is FURIA versus BD versus Black Dragons. Ollie, you've kept a close eye on both of these teams throughout the group stages that we've seen, the round robins that we've of course covered off on. As we head into the map veto phase here, let's talk about these two teams. You can paint us a bit of a picture of where they're at and what they'll be fighting for here.
I mean, in terms of a map veto, things really do start to change now as we move into a best of three sort of situation. A best of one, you can give a fairly good estimate as to where you're going to end up, but you know, that first ban, for example, is a very important ban. You want to be getting rid of a map that you're really not too hot on there. I think personally, FURIA, they're a team that have proved themselves on quite a number of maps, especially over the course of stage 2. Their sort of statistics are a little bit more diluted, obviously, because they've played international competition in the last 6 months as well, so that's something to sort of factor into it. And then you look on the side of Black Dragons, they're a slightly newer roster in that they've made 2 recent additions and changes, so they're going to be looking a little bit more along the lines of, well, we've maybe not got as deep a map pool as a team that has been together for a year or plus. So they might try and narrow things down a little bit and go to a couple more of those sort of more guaranteed maps, as it were.
Well, let's have a look at the maps that we're going to play on here. And a slight difference, Ace. Now, of course, playing best of 3, we're going to potentially see as many as 3 maps here. Talk us through this process, Ace.
Well, first of all, we got a couple of bans coming in. So FURIA take out Villa, Black Dragons, they're going to drop coastline. And now it's all about picking those maps where you really think you can get your wins. You want to be able to pick up your own map pick at least. Chalet and Kafe are going to be the 2. Clubhouse, Oregon, the 2 common ones. I think, you know, you were suggesting there, Ollie, we might see, but Consulate as well. You know, that's a pretty standard pick in the LATAM region. We see plenty of Consulate. All the teams are good there. But for me, Chalet, Kafe, I think it leads into a nice point that when you get into these best of 3s in the tournaments, this is where you start seeing the maps that maybe teams have been covering up a little bit. This is where they start sort of saving them for.
Well, one thing I want to point out here, of course, if you're just joining us, perhaps you've only caught a little bit of coverage of the, you know, if you're a recent acquisition of the fandom of Rainbow Six, it's important to note there are some key differences here with best of 3. We are going to see at least 2 maps here, and the decider, if necessary, heading to Consulate. This means that teams that have a deeper map pool, teams that have had pocket strats have been hiding. This is where that comes out, right? This is that high stakes Rainbow Six that you're going to need a bit of extra special stuff out the back pocket here. So you're going to see Siege that you might not have experienced yet, just based on the nature of best of 3 compared to best of 1. It's fascinating to see how it goes. Let's move on and have a talk about the teams now. Of course, we've already talked about the fact that it's FURIA versus Black Dragons. These are 2 teams that have done reasonably well. They've done okay within the BR6 here. Ace, I want to hear from you here when talking about FURIA and the performance that they've had. We can bring up their roster and look at some of the players here and talk us through exactly the position that these guys are in and their perspective heading into this match.
Absolutely. I mean, I'll talk about FURIA all day long. It's, you know, no surprises to anybody who's watched the broadcast before during my time, how much I sort of championed this team. And they really have gone from strength to strength. The meteoric rise continues for FURIA. They are a team that are doing everything right. They've got the foundations in place. They've got 2 of the top 10 players at the minute inside of the Copa Elite 6 so far, going very, very well. And like I say, for me, you look at them last year, they had the whole story of being in the relegation spots, and then they come through, they managed to qualify for the 6 Invitational, which Twister, the coach, was always adamant that they were going to do. They had a better than expected performance there. I think they picked up a lot of the neutral fans because people just started sitting up and taking notice, thinking, you know, who is this team? You know, coming out of Brazil, we've heard of Liquid, we've heard of FaZe, of course, but who's FURIA? And they absolutely shocked a few people, and they're just getting better and better. I mean, inside of the Copa Elite 6 so far, we've got Rare and Miracle. If you're wanting some names to look out for, Rare and Miracle going very well so far. Rare, I think, plus 13 KD. He's got 5 plants down as well. He's doing everything at the minute. So FURIA, always an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, I know they've been, you know, they've got a lot of attention, a lot of new fans, as you say here, and they have to face Black Dragons. This is a team, Ollie, that have had, I guess, what are we calling, mixed fortunes during the stage that it took to get here. I mean, you know, they put in the work and they're getting rewarded for it, but not from a position of dominance necessarily.
No, and I think that's probably quite a fair sort of assessment of Black Dragons and the way that they've presented themselves over the course of the stage. They didn't have the greatest of stages. There were some of the teams lower down the leaderboard that really started to trip them up sort of right from the get-go. And we saw the same sort of kind of problems that you see with a team that has made a couple of changes. Obviously, with Resets and Perez coming in, we were never going to expect to see the same sort of level of teamwork and coordination. That's something that's going to take a little bit of time to start to materialize. But what we did find from Black Dragons is that they're a very aggressive team, and they're a team that really aren't afraid to get a very hot roam clear done, to even roam themselves when they're on the defense and really challenge at some quite extended angles. So that's something that we've seen from Black Dragons. How that's going to fare them inside of, you know, best of three sort of situation is always a little bit that kind of remains to be seen.
Well, we are just waiting for the players to and the game, everything to be in readiness here. So while we wait for that, I want to get your perspectives. Ace, I'll start with you. Who's going to win? Let's talk about it. How do these teams fare against each other based on the performances we've seen, based on what's on the line? Don't forget pressure, the psychological element of having so much to play for. Who are you backing here in this matchup?
I think personally, if I've got to come out and pick a winner, I think it's going to be Furia. No surprises there.
No
always laughing because he knows where I'm going.
Trying, man. I'm trying to build.
In all seriousness, there's no bias here. Genuinely, that's based on a number of factors. They both had a very similar record coming through the group stages, go for Elite Six. There was basically an overtime win and loss that separated the two. That was the whole difference. Furia had an overtime win, whereas Black Dragons had an overtime loss. But remember who that overtime win came against for Furia. It came against Team Liquid. This is a team that have got a lot of recent experience in these pressure tournament situations, having been at the Six Invitational. They're starting to really know what this stuff is about now, whereas for me, Black Dragons, couple of roster changes, still some sort of foundations to put down. They've had a very good run, don't get me wrong, they've got themselves into the knockout stages. I'm just sort of feeling like this is maybe the natural end, but the beauty of Siege is there's always surprises there.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, looking at just the more recent results as well, Furia, of course, getting through the group stage of the league finals here, 3 wins and 1 loss with 1 overtime win, to Black Dragons, who split it 2-2 with an overtime loss. So certainly a little more wind in the sails of Furia, but what's your perspective here, Ollie? I know you're a fan of Furia, more personally speaking, but as a caster, what are your expectations here?
I think I'd agree with Tim, honestly, and you could look at this a number of different ways. We could look at recent performance. I think Furia is a team that are very dangerous at the moment. We've seen some very impressive things out of particularly Rare and Miracle. It isn't always about the fantasy show, but when he shows up and brings the fireworks, that can be exciting as well. But they're a team of depth, and a lot of players on there have the ability and the capabilities pop off. And then you could sort of look toward the maps, and having had a chance to sort of dwell on those and dig up a little bit of statistics and a few notes on them. Chalet's a map that Furia are very good on. Out of 6 players, they've got an 83% win ratio. Now, Black Dragons, they're also quite good at Chalet. Out of 3 players, they've got a 67% win ratio. Where this differs is the Kafe pick, map number 2. That is not a map that we've seen Furia play very recently. It's almost their permanent ban. It sits there with Villa in terms of their most banned map. In fact, Kafe is their most banned. Whereas Black Dragons, we've seen them play it a little bit. We've seen them play it 3 times. So in terms of what Furia were expecting coming into this, I think they've probably allowed that Kafe pick in. They've gone, you know what, it's our permanent ban. We've got some things that now we feel is a good time to bring out on here. So that then adds another element of danger into the mixture as well, because we know that Furia are a team that put a lot of work in behind the scenes and in terms of the supporting staff. So very quickly, this one becomes quite difficult to call because we're dealing with a couple of unknowns.
Looks like we're ready to get underway with our first match here at the LATAM League Finals. A great pleasure to have your company, my friends, and we are going to get underway right here and right now. The 2 casters, Ace and Ollie, are ready to go. Let's get to it.
Thank you very much, Riley. We are going to be jumping in now to the first map inside of this best of 3, the first quarterfinal here for the Copa Elite 6. We've got Furia, we've got Black Dragons, and for the first time in a long time, Ace, it's me and you.
Oh, it is, and I am excited. I absolutely, you love this phrase, Ollie. I bounced out of bed this morning. I knew Oh, I knew there was some LATAM games on the cards and I was ready to roll. I've been looking forward to this all day, especially when I get told that I'm coming into a FURIA game as well. And FURIA Black Dragons, we couldn't ask for much better inside of the server. They're both going to be fighting hard. And I don't just want to paint this FURIA picture, Ollie. That's something I want to be very careful. Let's think about Black Dragons here. How much of a deal could this be if they get into the major spot? That could be massive for them,
especially for a sort of developing team, which I think it's a fair category to put Black Dragons into at the moment, is that they are a team that are still sort of finding their feet and still developing. So it really does start to get quite impressive when you think and you look at those sort of terms. Obviously picking up Resets and Perez, this is going to be their first stage inside of the BR6, and already they're making waves into the quarterfinals.
It is. It's really something. Now, just to quickly touch on our operator bans that we've had there for Chalet. We've got Flores, we've got Lion, we've got Kaid, and we've got Valkyrie all going out of things. Now, Flores, new operator coming in for this stage. No surprise to see the ban there. I mean, have you seen a lot of use? How have you seen that impact in the LATAM region as a whole, Ollie?
Flores is something that they've really sort of picked up and ran with.
Powerful operator.
Very powerful.
We had a Lems in EUL saying basically they think it's the most powerful competitive operator at the minute.
Cameraman said literally the same thing. We asked him in an interview, like, I think they maybe banned Flores or something. We were like, what about the Flores ban? Like, come on, we want to see it. And he was like, Flores is too overpowered. And that was sort of straight out of cameraman's mouth. So it is something that we've seen quite a lot inside of BR6. And it's no major surprise to see it removed away here, especially when you think to the sort of powerful shield play and a lot of the utility burning that you've got to do on this map.
Absolutely. I mean, one position in particular that I'm thinking of is that piano that we can see right in front of us. We're going to be on a top floor hold for site, one master and office, and quite often one of the power positions is in and around that piano. You'll quite often get a bit of utility played in there just to help somebody keep themselves locked in, and the Flores will often be the Rotero drones that are going in there looking to clear out that utility. So that may be a spot that has some significance as this round goes on. But for the immediate start of the round, we've got FURIA pushing towards the library side to get things moving. Usually the case, try and get into the top floor, get yourself established, boots on the ground, a little bit of a beachhead inside a library, and then look to push out from there and challenge those defenders.
See a bit of a Solarium take as well here, as that's where we see Rare getting himself. He's going to be carrying that diffuser, carrying that kit, and waiting for a little bit of intel to come on in. Lender just trying to see if there's anything that he can take advantage of here, and very quickly will find himself an opener. Takes down Ion, as Curiosity really got the better of him there.
Big start for FURIA. That's exactly what they needed. Just settle things down a bit, get themselves a kill on the board, and then they can start thinking about getting inside and building up the push towards the master and office site. Now, as you said, there's a couple outside on the Solarium rappel. There's a little bit of attention over to library, and I love what I'm seeing from FURIA here. There's a couple down on that ground floor. They're thinking, right, let's think in terms of getting in, clearing out anybody that's not on site, and then let's surround these defenders. Let's get ourselves on the library side. Let's get ourselves on the Solarium side. Let's make it really uncomfortable for Black Dragons to try and sit inside a site. We've even got the vertical angles coming out here potentially. Fancy going in underneath. Could be using that to clear out some utility potentially if they're getting held up by a mute jammer that's just preventing them breaching a wall. Get underneath, clear it out. Lender comes in with a second ollie. He smashes a grenade into the face alive there. Absolutely removes the man, and with 1 minute 15 left to go, Black Dragons, they're on the back foot.
They really are. Lender is getting pinched here on the Solarium stairs. He's just going to try and hold his ground for now. He does have a little bit of assistance. He's got highs on the upside down rappel on big window. That's doing a lot to cut straight through the site. As Resets, he finds himself down. Fantasy will be able to pick up a kill onto Patoxy, and a second over onto Resets. Give him an inch and he will take a mile. Perez, he's going to find himself a couple there. Landing his shots and dropping the diffuser. A very important couple of kills. He's still got a lot of time to hold on here. but he's given himself a chance.
Well, he can play his position now. He knows that there's one out on the double window. He gets himself another. This is 1v5 down to 1v1. We saw Perez getting a little bit of a shoulder rub before we came in, Ollie. And whatever's gone on there has certainly given him the strength that he needed to get in here and start having a fantastic round one, because he's not had the best performance so far. He does take shots there, though. 1v1 shut down by Miracle. One of those two names that I picked up on before we came into this game. And the shoulder rub maybe just wasn't quite enough, Ollie. I thought there was some magic hands going on there. We saw him just getting ready and focused coming into this one. And what a performance that nearly was to kick things off for Black Dragons and Perez there.
You imagine if that shoulder rub lasted another 5 seconds, what he would have been able to achieve there inside of that round. A very impressive cleanup. Furia threw themselves at that one, and honestly, they would have deserved it if they'd have lost it. Because with the way that we saw aggressive players coming on through, it was just a little bit unnecessary. I don't think that we needed to see, you know, both Rare and Lender peak at the same time. And it wasn't even like a double peak. It wasn't even that good, because one player stuck inside of a rappel animation. We get another player stuck inside of a rappel animation as they're coming in from the big window. Perez has done a great job to land a few shots there. It's going to have given a bit of confidence, I think, to the side of Black Dragons, because otherwise that round was a whitewash to Furia.
Oh, it was, yeah, up to that point, it was a complete write-off for them. I think the thing is, we've all been there. I'm not saying that I play at the level that Furia does, but we've all been there.
4K inside
No, not on Perez's side. I've been on Furia's side of that countless times. You get to 5v1, and it's just like, you know what? Let's just rappel in together. We'll try and get the kill. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's 1v1, and you've got somebody in your ear, and it's usually me that's saying, we're throwing this away here. Throwing this away here, boys. Like, we need to calm down. This is 1v1. We were 1v5 a second ago. Miracle's closed that out. Like I say, Miracle and Rare both going very well inside of this tournament so far. So maybe not one of the ideal players to be left up against in that sort of clutch situation. But, absolutely hats off to Perez there. Great effort, and hopefully we can see that continue for Black Dragons. Maybe more of the late round than the early round would be nice.
Miracle already starting off pretty strong there. He dealt a few chip damage shots into Resets. Resets was inside a bar there, playing on the Frost, obviously needing to do something to deal with this aggressive entry that Furia are bringing. We've also got Miracle holding the drone hole now. He's not going to shoot just yet, but he knows somebody's going to be playing there. Just trying to open himself up enough lines of sight to work with. Showing great patience here. He isn't going to get a great chance at dishing any serious damage into Ion, but at least he knows that he's going to be there. And now Furia can work to do what they've done very well, and that is to pinch players out, get the drones working in. It's very similar to the way that Liquid play this map. They like to get a lot of kills from the outside before committing too heavily inside of the building. And that's really what we're seeing now with these challenges coming in. Players just trying to get baited into a bit of window play.
Patoxi's going to get himself challenged very soon if he's not careful, but it's actually Live who comes up into the first engagement there and will find himself down. So Patoxi goes for the jump out, but shut down by a Lender who seemed to have a sixth sense. He knew that was coming, and he was there to just mop up the man as he jumped out of the window. That effectively leaves us 5 versus 3 now, unless somebody is able to get themselves over to Live and get him collected. It's looking unlikely at the minute. Perez takes an awful lot of damage on that challenge as well, just having to dip away on the Jaeger, and right now Live, the best he can hope to do is feed a bit of information into his team if any of these Furia players come within range of him to be able to be spotted out, but that's not going to be the case for the time being. And coming into the last 55 seconds, once again Black Dragons are seriously on the back foot here.
That kill will be confirmed there as Live eventually is going to bleed out. There's still a power position to be dealt with at the top of Library Stairs. Perez actually gets himself downed inside of the site as well. Furia have about 35 seconds to execute on this, and they're dealing with a significant man advantage yet again here. They haven't really suffered at all, aside from that little spree from Perez that we saw previously. Now, we know that High saw the frost mat, so we don't have to panic too much there. But Ion is going to find one over onto Fantasy, commanding those Library Stairs, and now able to get himself back on into the site. The push has to come in, but it's coming in a little bit slow, and resets. He's going to hit a couple of shots. Quickly brings this down into a 2 versus 2. Can now just watch onto the doorway. Finds himself a triple. Can he hit the quad? Yes, he can. Resets. What a performance inside of that round.
What is going on in this game? I just really hope that Black Dragons are not going to try this every single round, because my heart can't take it, X. There's absolutely no way I can go through this with 4K and 5K attempts at the end of every single round. Resets there coming up big, and I think we're seeing the same flow for FURIA there, getting themselves that advantage, this time just feeding in through that single door and giving resets every opportunity. One man goes in, peeks the bomb, gets killed. They don't have time to change things around, but they should have been set differently to begin with. You've got to push from multiple angles in a man advantage situation. You've got the manpower to do it. Try and get a pinch. Try and get yourself on opposite sides of somebody. Don't allow it to be possible for them to just treat it like a shooting range as one target pops up in front of them after another.
He got 4 kills without moving his feet.
Exactly that.
4 kills, and he was in the same spot. Whatever that, you call that out, and he should be dead. That was, again, from FURIA. Great early round. FURIA's early round is really strong.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
That late round is a mess. I'm going to be straight. Like, that should not be allowed to happen. Resets is... He's taken advantage there. He shouldn't have been allowed to do what he's been able to do, but he's just played to the whistle. You know, he's got himself 4 kills, dealt with not only players coming in from, you know, the bottom of main stairs and inside of that fireplace area, but he's dealt with someone through the hatch as well.
That for me was probably the kill. That was the one that really opened it up. It hits the hatch shot, which isn't easy. You know, we always say this, fighting uphill in Siege is a difficult battle. Usually, if you've got the height advantage, you do tend to start finding those kills. But he manages to get the man on the hatch and then just flips it around, and he's got 2 left, 8 seconds. They don't have time to relocate anymore. And so for me, that's the real linchpin of that clutch.
Well, we'll see how FURIA choose to respond here. I would imagine that they're going to attempt very similar inside of this early round, but of course they're dealing with a different site now. Black Dragons have actually gone downstairs, which isn't a site that we get to see all too often.
It's difficult to defend. It's difficult to defend because you've got all 4 sides that you can be attacked from.
And you've still got to do a full map clear. So, as easy as it is to just open the wall and try and get a plant off, you've still got to clear the whole map.
You do, because it can be held vertically. If you're inside a fireplace, inside of that main lobby area, you can just open up a few holes there. Like you say, if you've got somebody on the roam, if potentially somebody like Live on the mute, if, you know, bringing along those explosives, you've got Ion he's used them, but the impact nade options there. If you can get those holes opened up vertically, you can prevent that plant going down. So, like you say, very important to get everybody cleared out.
We're seeing a much slower approach here from FURIA. I'm not sure if this is in response to the way that the previous couple of rounds have gone. But we're halfway through the round and they haven't made a big impact onto the roamers. They forced them back to site, but there are still a couple out there and present. Miracle is going to move through Piano now. There's going to be players sitting on the main stairs, but at this point, Black Dragons can kind of just retreat and be happy that they've wasted a good portion of time.
That's it for the time being. A lot of the roaming job is done. They're down to that final minute. We're going to see that rear wall getting opened up now. Thatcher along with his EMP grenades just to make that a little bit easier. Have a little bit of damage done to Lender. He's been getting into those entry battles repeatedly, but you can see what I was saying there, X. You've got Thermite opening up the rear wall. He's going to move round. He's going to open up the side wall from Trench as well. So now the defenders have got multiple angles to worry about. Ion, he's not worried about a thing as he puts Fantasy into the ground though. Lender, second grenade kill on the day, using those explosives to fantastic effect so far. Levels things up here in round 3, 4 versus 4. 25 seconds left to go in FURIA. They've got to get something moving here, and that's what's going to happen as Rare just dashes in through that side breach, starts to get the diffuser down, even manages to dodge out of the way of a Nitro, but the kills keep coming, and they keep coming in the favour of Black Dragons right now. Rare, very important engagement there as he gets the kill onto Ion. That was his second, with one going on to Live as well. It's all up to Patoxy. The cover's in place though from a long angle, shut down by Miracle, and what a round from FURIA, showing exactly how to attack onto the basement.
We got a great view of that as well. With that top down, we could see the decision making that Rare was dealing with, and we saw him start the plant, and he came off. Obviously, because we're not in his view, we can't hear that the C4's been ripped, but he knows it's coming in. We see him go to the other side of the stack. He starts to try and get the plant down over there. Rare has played a blinder. He's essentially been inside of a blender. Someone's turned it on, and he's been dodging the blades as they come through at max speed, as it's trying to pulse you up. Great round there from Rare. Good rotation from Miracle as well, getting himself downstairs. I was a bit worried when I saw where Miracle was in those dying few seconds, and I saw Rare in essentially a 1 versus 2. Because you're thinking, Miracle, where are you? We need a little bit of assistance. We need that crossfire through into connector to try and cut anybody off from moving on through, but it came exactly when it was required. Again, a very close round. You know, these rounds are the swinging in the early part. We've seen FURIA take the early lead in a couple of them so far. That last one, it was very unclear. It really could have gone either way, but Rare and Miracle, they're able to dig deep and get the job done.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make about Miracle's position. It's quite specific for him to be back there in Big Garage like that. But with that wall opened, if you think about it, he carves off a massive section of that site. And given that Rare was on his left-hand side, having come in from the trench side, he should, so long as there's no more explosives left on the board, be completely safe, because nobody should be allowed to step across that line of sight that Miracle's got all the way right through to connector. So it was well played by FURIA to get that down, even after they'd lost a few men in that sort of battle of attrition in the mid-range. You got to feel for Black Dragons a little bit there. They again had a stalwart fight back in that mid-round area, mid to late round, where they got them couple of kills, and you thought this could be falling apart for FURIA again. But no, this time FURIA had it locked down. But we did comment on this. It was one of the easier attacking sites. So FURIA, they need to take that momentum now and start pushing forward a bit.
And from what they've shown us, they're going to be very capable of picking up rounds elsewhere as well. They've just been coming down a little bit too close to the wire. Again, we see FURIA with trying to get that kill over on the entry now. In the early part of the round, we did see a bit of drone work going on inside of Bar and Gaming, and that drone work's going to continue. Fantasy looked like he was going to get himself into a position, but for the meantime, it seems as though Miracle is just trying to cut off any sort of rotation or serious run out, as Highs is actually going to get himself above and maybe try and work down from that library area. Fancy now into position as well, and start to deal with the player that's going to be on Fireplace.
Just looking to hold those angles through into library. Fancy is going to go in, supported by the man on the window, which was Highs. Lender is going to be down this time. He's been well in those opening battles so far, but this time Ion comes out on top, manages to get that first. Miracle, however, will get a trade, and the kills start absolutely raining in. And unfortunately for FURIA, they can't stop killing anything that moves, even their own men. As Rare, he will pick up an unfortunate team kill there, leaving them 2 versus 3. Fortunately, there was a couple already down on the side of Black Dragons, but with Lender down, injured, that's going to pick him back up to 20 health, but he's only 1 bullet away from dying. So this is not going to be an easy final minute for FURIA. They're going to have to play this smart. For me, they need to use their drones. The problem is they've only got 1 left on the side of Rare, Ollie. He's got 1 that he can actively use. There may be a few knocking about in static positions that the other players have left before dying, but in terms of sending drones in to gather information, there's not going to be much of that available.
No, and that's demonstrated with the smokes just used in an attempt to get into a position to do anything inside of this round. Lender doesn't have any grenades left either, but he has got himself underneath, and he can start to try and find a bit of a vertical angle, see if anybody on the side of Black Dragons gets a little bit too aggressive, but Rare is eventually going to get himself picked on off. Well, Lender, he'd announced himself by taking out the default cam. Somebody on the side of Black Dragons would have been watching that. Resets to pick up that final kill. Lovely little flick there, and we get to see inside of the final kill cam. Black Dragons come back with a round that wasn't up for grabs for anyone. They vied very heavily there in the early part with an aggressive hold.
And what a game that we're seeing so far. We're 2-0 after 4 rounds, and this one, I've just got a feeling, is going to be tooth and nail the whole way. Whether we end up with a third map or whether we see 2 tight victories for one team, we'll see as this one progresses. But right now, Black Dragons showing that they are in this one to fight, and they are here to try and claim their spot in that Mexican major, which, like you say, you know, they sort of squeaked their way through the normal season to get themselves here into the Copa Elite Six. They've done everything by the skin of their teeth, and they might just manage to do that again.
It would be great if they did. You know, I think it would be really good for Black Dragons if they were able to get themselves...
I love them stories.
You know, they missed out on Copa last stage by 1 point. You know, they are that team that are just on the threshold, on the precipice all the time, and eventually they're going to do it. And it might have to come through, you know, a very arduous game, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. You know, there's no clear winner inside of this one so far. All square at round 5 at 2 rounds apiece. That's what it's going to take from Black Dragons, I think, and, you know, maybe today could be their day. I think certainly the second map could favour them, but even here on Chalet, there's been nothing too clear-cut just yet, so... Another couple of chances here for Black Dragons to defend. Another couple of chances for them to pick up a couple of rounds here before they switch over onto the attack, which is where we've seen them struggle a little bit more. So the better that they can do here on the defense, it's going to stand them in a better stead moving forward into that split.
Rare immediately opening up that Solarium window there, just looking to apply some pressure to those top floor roamers of Black Dragons. We are, of course, attacking onto bar and gaming this time for Furia. And look at the aggression coming in from Fantasy, going straight in there. Absolutely no messing. He's getting hot droned in. You can see it just ahead of him. Oh, I don't think he maybe quite knows the exact position of that man, and just takes a few little pre-fire shots before he moves in, but he's going to have to dip out of the engagement for the time being. He's going to be supported by Miracle, who's also moving in from Trophy as well. They just see the man dipping his way back up the main stairs, so Black Dragons not wanting to commit too heavily to those early challengers, but I tell you what, they do commit onto the kill of Highs, and that's going to close the man down on the main door. That's going to just give Black Dragons that advantage again, and this at the minute, all this entry game for Black Dragons is going through Ion right now.
He's doing a lot of work there. Highs has been removed on the Jackal. Now, it's one of the first times we've seen Jackal picked. So Highs has obviously brought that for a specific reason, and maybe to assist in this roam clear, or for the smoke grenades that Jackal brings, but neither of those things are going to be a factor. We still will have smokes on Rare. Whether we get Rare into a position to use them or not. This upstairs is pretty free at the moment for Furia, as we see them be able to make pretty serious advance. Fantasy and Lender have got themselves in now and can start to challenge onto the top of Library and deal with that deployable shield. It will eventually be dealt with. There is going to still be a player inside of Library and a player on the stairs, so there's still a lot to consider here for Furia in this approach, and they haven't got a great deal of time to execute it.
50 seconds left to go. Patoxy gets aggressive. He nearly finds himself one. In comes the nade that he has to just duck away from, but his movement there is actually fantastic as he gets the shots on, just avoids the nade that was coming in to try and take him down, and then keeps himself alive and in the fight, getting himself back into bar for the time being. Half health, albeit, but Lender, he's taken a lot of damage in that exchange as well. Now, Black Dragons, they are largely falling back to site here to try and just hold things down for the last 20 seconds. Furia, this is where they've been struggling, finding those openings, getting themselves into position to win rounds in the late stage. Now, Live, he gets himself another one onto Lender, and it's all falling apart again, but Rare and Fantasy, they maybe managed to grab a hold of it. That's a great kill through into the connector. 1 versus 1, 1 second left to go. Time is going to run out for Rare. Fortunately, Patoxy manages to close that one out as he just watches the sand run through the hourglass and just waits for that 3-minute timer to be over. And another successful defense for Black Dragons.
Another tight round down in the bar as well. You know, we saw Furia make some good changes there inside of that round. They weren't going to fall to resets and his 4K games this time. They really were in a position to deal a lot better. But again, falling foul of the clock. You got to think, if that little bit of barbed wire that was on the doorway catching Rare and keeping him slowed a little bit, has that played a bit of a factor in there inside of that round? Very possibly. All Rare needed was a glimpse there to land a couple of shots, but time was running out and things were getting a little bit desperate for Furia. So we are going to see Black Dragons pick up another round there. They now have the lead for the first time this map. Can they look to try and extend it? They're going to be taking us into the kitchen now. And they're going to look to make this a 4-2 split.
This could be massive for Black Dragons. As you commented coming in, Ollie, obviously FURIA, a team that we know are very good on Chalet, and potentially this was their map pick as well. So Black Dragons have obviously got some confidence in Kafe coming in there. FURIA regularly ban it out, as you said. So you start asking the question then, are FURIA banning it out because they don't like playing there, or are they banning it out because they're keeping it under wraps and they're going to be happy to go there? So that's going to be a big question mark over map 2 potentially, especially if Black Dragons come out and get this win on Chalet. This could be the real foundation. This could be the best foot forward that they need to push themselves into the major.
It really could. You know, it can all come down. Even inside of the best of 3, one map can have a really huge swing just in terms of mentality and momentum. And we know that Black Dragons are an aggressive side. If they start to really feel themselves in hitting the shots and things start to click and they really come together, it might not be beyond the realm of possibility for them to do this here. And well, the way that we've seen FURIA play, it's not necessarily been scrappy, but they've had to win in those situations. And Black Dragons have really put them under quite a lot of pressure so far today. So still, the last round of the attack for FURIA, and honestly, I think regardless of whether Chalet is attacker-sided, defender-sided, I think it's going to be good for them to get off this side now. I think it's going to be good for them to get themselves onto the defense. They just want to try and get through this round, come away with a round win, and then look to sort of turn their sights, because things haven't gone smoothly for them, and Black Dragons have made it very difficult so far.
No, they've had those late round issues, and as you say, it can become a little bit of a mental block sometimes. So I think if they can just get away from that, get themselves onto the defence, maybe hopefully switch the momentum up. But for the time being, there is still one more round to close out. We're getting towards the halfway point here. They are attacking onto kitchen and dining for this last time. Fantasy sends in that Gemini decoy there that will be taken down, but not before feeding in information just about some of the player locations up on this top floor. Because once again, the defenders of Black Dragons, they're going to try to hold down Master and Office for as long as possible. They want to keep hold of those vertical angles, but Fantasy, he manages to find a sort of half vertical angle halfway down the stairs there. What a great headshot onto the man at bar as well, taking down Ion, and that's Live who went along with him in that opening encounter. So now 5 versus 3, and he gets himself another. This couldn't be Fantasy going for one of those classic aces, could it?
Honestly, keep feeding him. Why are Black Dragons still peeking him? That's absolutely crazy. Fancy's had a bit of a change of pace. He's picked onto the Iana. Not somebody that we see him play all too often. Highs, he's going to yoink it off him. The nade was perfect. Fancy could have been on for a 4K there and still possibly could have been on for the ace, but Highs is going to yoink that one away from him. This is the FURIA that we were expecting to see here, but there's still chance for them to mess it up. We've seen them in this situation before. Highs, he's going to pick up that final kill. FURIA will finally get themselves a flawless round. They've been threatening it throughout the course of their attacks here on Chalet, and on the last round of their attack, they finally managed to do it.
3-0, we see even Stevens at the halfway point as FURIA are able to get round 6 over the line. More than over the line, they absolutely sprinted away with that one. 3 kills for Fantasy, 2 for Highs, and it was all done and dusted. As you say, I think 4 of the kills, I think it was 3 of them came in the exact same location, and that was on that dining room door. They just wanted to keep fighting there, and I'm not really sure why.
No, it's from a defender point of view, it's very strange, because FURIA have just gone, we're just going to walk in if that's all right with you. We're just gonna make our way through it. Like, just don't fight him. Just don't fight Fantasy there.
Beautiful shot onto the man behind the bar as well, just showing the gun skill that he's got at his fingertips, really able to take that one out. And it just felt like a little bit of a catalyst in the round. He got that opener, and then he hits the man at bar, and all of a sudden FURIA are rolling. And that's what you just feel like about them as a team at the minute, or I certainly do watching this. I just think as soon as FURIA sort of get on top, you always feel like they're going to win the round. Obviously, we had that round 2 where Black Dragons did manage to turn it around, but generally speaking, FURIA, they're sort of like a stone hitting a downhill. As soon as, they're rolling along, they're just picking up a little bit of pace, and then those first kills just push them over the edge, and there's very, very little stopping them.
They're a very momentum-based team, and I think it does come off the back of that team effort, all pulling in the same direction. It's really easy to sit here and to talk about the kills that we're able to see, whether it be Highs or Fantasy getting, but that's off the back of the drone work that's going in from the likes of Rare and Lender. So you do see it on both sides there. And you can see why that hypes them up, because everyone's got a contribution in toward that as well. It's not just the guy that's pressing mouse 1. And I think when they do get that early opening advantage inside of the round, they are a good team at really starting to press it. We've seen them threaten a couple of flawless rounds on their attack, and they finally managed to get one over the line. Now they switch things up and they get themselves onto the defense. Lender is playing, I don't know if it's the most risky mirror window I've ever seen, but it's certainly up there, Tim.
Well, sometimes no risk, no reward. We've got to remember that. But the thing is, when you're thinking about mirror windows, you've always got to think about what's behind you. That's the big factor. And obviously having that big double window there, pretty easy for somebody to get up on the rappel and to just take that one out and shoot it down. But I think the hope there is that, maybe that isn't the direction of the attack initially to begin with, and you can maybe just get that cheeky early kill onto Solarium using it. Effectively, if you see that mirror window as a bit of a burner, as a bit of utility that, look, we're probably not going to hold on to this, it might just give us that cheeky, cheap early kill, then, maybe it plays out. As we can see, the Barner's got on there, got that opened up, so Lender, he's going to have to dip away from that fight now.
Is he, though? That's the question.
Well, I say he has to. It's not to say he will do.
The way that silhouette was looked a little bit dangerous, and Lender is almost like a bit of a moth to a flame here with this one. He's still going to be holding on to the ankle, and he's going to get swung. Perez, he doesn't miss those. He's going to swing on in, find that kill onto Lender, and that's really opened up this Solarium side now for Black Dragons.
It's a great opening kill, that much is for sure. Perez having a much better game than maybe he's had so far, as I said, in Copa Elite 6, really getting himself rolling here today. And I mean, what a time to do it. You come into the quarterfinals, the knockout stages, that's the time to start putting up the real big numbers. Live manages to get himself a kill, and that's going to leave us now 5 versus 3 for Black Dragons. 45 seconds left to go, and this attack is looking pretty promising so far. They've got the vertical control that they need, but they need to be aware that Hayes is on the flank here. This could be a big move.
Hayes is looking quite dangerous there. There is going to be a Nomad in play with 2 air jabs out, so he does need to be cautious. Miracle there, jump scared. And it eventually ends up missing his shots. Hayes is able to do a little bit of damage, though, but he's now going to be the last player standing. He has to pull off an ace here if he's going to try and do it, as Live looks to confirm that diffuser. 15 seconds left and nothing stopping him from getting it down. Hayes does have a C4 and he's got a great shot. He's going to pick up 2. It puts him onto a triple. Resets and Perez, the final 2 to find. Going to use the C4. It might open him a bit of a line of sight. It's certainly going to give him something to work with, but these 2 players aren't going to give anything away. Crossfire there being held. Resets picking up the pieces. Black Dragons come away with an attacking round win.
Great round for Black Dragons there. Got themselves in, dealt with all the utility to put up against them on the top floor, got control, put the diffuser down. It was a textbook attack onto dining and kitchen, and it was very well worked. Black Dragons very impressive so far here on Chalet. Now, the worrying thing, if you're a FURIA fan watching this, is you're looking at this thinking, right, we've had that switch of sides. We were a little bit concerned after the initial attacking phase, but we got 3 on attack. That's okay, right? Black Dragons come in and absolutely smash your defence to pieces to begin with in round number 7. That's never a good omen moving forward. Black Dragons are showing that they've got some real teeth to their bite here, and coming through to get another one on Master and Office. This could be a big round for Black Dragons.
All I'm going to say is Lender's not playing mirror this time.
There's been words. Words have been out there.
Someone said something there. Someone's gone, you know what? Inside of the quarterfinals, I'd rather you don't. I'd rather you don't play the suicide mirror window, because it's just not giving us much. Just bring Frost, put 3 bear traps down. Tim's casting. Someone's bound to get caught in one. You'll be fine.
Absolute fact. Absolute given fact that somebody. I tell you what, I had a bit of a moment. I didn't actually mention it at the time, X. If you remember. I think it was maybe round 3. The Gemini clone went in through the library window and didn't shoot at the frost mat. And there was a bit where my heart sank as he went in through the window.
I love the Geminis because it baits me sometimes. Even when you just see them like swing round the corner, you're like, what? How is this happening? Like, he was over there a second ago. It is always makes for good fun.
The quick approach coming in from Black Dragons once again then. We've already got the Solarium rappel established. We've got Sledge opening, barricades up, drones going in, laser gates getting cleared off. Everything is going down very quickly, utility being dealt with. The problem with those two laser gates on the Solarium windows there, Ollie, obviously anybody not familiar with the gadget, it prevents, you take damage if you move through it, so it sort of prevents utility, it prevents manpower just going in quickly and easily through that location. But what can happen is when it's been burnt out like that, so a throwable goes through there, the laser gate stops working for a period of time. Once that time is up, there's a little device that sort of generates the laser gate that's on the back of the window frame in this case, and that can be shot by a defender, and it will sort of reinstigate that laser gate. It'll get it working again. But the problem on the Solarium window with having two there, that's a very difficult shot to make if you've got people on rappel there, because when you expose yourself to take the shot and to try and reactivate that laser gate, you're going to get absolutely deleted from the map. So, bit of a tough spot. They've been easily dealt with by Black Dragons, and they're getting themselves in well here. This is going pretty good, other than that live death.
Yeah, live falling isn't ideal. It's going to be the sole hard breach that Black Dragons have chosen to bring here. Miracle doubles down as well, picking himself up a C4. Patoxy is going to miss out on his chance on that rotation kill onto Miracle, and Miracle's going to be able to, or maybe Fancy, swan up those stairs. Toxie now likely going to get himself onto that big window rappel and try and work with Ion here. There's still a diffuser to recover in and amongst all of this as well. And Black Dragon's push has just slowed down a little bit. Ion is going to get himself in. In the meantime, isn't going to be being challenged. I say that. Miracle's got the angle, and he doesn't need much encouragement to hit the headshot. Reset's now left inside of the ace clutch. In a pretty tough spot. Going to find himself one onto Miracle. This is where FURIA have been a bit shaky, but Lender this time says, stop. That's enough. I'm going to put an end to this right here and now.
Great defense from FURIA. After the first minute or so, I was sort of shouting up Black Dragons. I'm saying, yep, they've got somebody established in Solarium. They've dealt with a lot of utility. They're moving forward well. But FURIA proving me wrong. They had absolutely every angle locked down there. There was just no space for Black Dragons to breathe inside of the map there without FURIA putting them down, let alone breathe any fire into that attack. They just could not get it going. And once again, we see this back and forth. We haven't seen anybody take the lead by 2 rounds as of yet. It's always been a 1-round margin or dead level. And I can already see this one going to overtime. I mean, would it be a game that you and I cast? And it just seems to happen time and time again. I think we're heading for those extra rounds.
It's been known. I think it's probably fair to say that we do tend to attract an OT, and inside of a best of 3. I mean, the problem is inside of this one, Ace, is that it's Consulate, final map.
Oof.
It's like your favourite map, my favourite map. I think everyone loves Consulate. Everybody wants to see Consulate in this one.
Especially for a decider. Especially for a LATAM decider. It's just going to be an absolute brawl.
Regardless of who's playing and who you want to win, I want to see Consulate as the final map, and that's where we're headed. In my head, already mentally, I'm ready to go there.
That's my only bias inside of this one. I know I've been a staunch supporter of FURIA in the past, but I'm not, as always, I come into this as a neutral. Black Dragons win, FURIA win, fantastic. I'm just going to get excited about it. What I'm biased towards is getting a 3rd map on Consulate. That's where I want to see the decider.
Well, I mean, if this game's been anything to go by, there's a chance that we get there, because there's not a great deal separating these two at the moment. And it's really going to be down to one team to stand up and start to change something, start to do something a little bit differently. So far, they're meeting each other and they're matching pace very well indeed. Black Dragons again going to go for this bit of a top floor clear. Some aggression there from Fancy, but Perez with the flip.
Get sat down.
His face doesn't even change. You could see him on the webcam. He just didn't even blink.
Honestly, between maps, somebody give that man a shoulder rub, because look at what happens. He's coming in absolutely storming through kills. That was an absolute beauty onto Fantasy. The drone went in just ahead of him. It's like he just saw that split second. It's like, right, I've got to react to this, and boy, does he. Now, Lender, he's inside of Library. He's trying to hold that long angle through, see if he can catch anybody out, but that's what FURIA's defences seem to be getting reduced to in some cases here. Can we catch Black Dragons out here? Can we catch them on a long angle? But still work for Black Dragons to do here. 1.5 minutes. They've got all the time in the world. They've got the manpower 5v3, but they do need to clear Lender out.
And the pace of Black Dragons here could be something that comes back to haunt them in the later part of the round, especially now we see players like Miracle just starting to challenge Rare as well. Everyone on the side of FURIA is going, you know what, we're a bit of a man disadvantage here. They're not taking any advantage of this situation. We need to try and aggress on up and just meet them a little bit where they may not be expecting us now. Whilst they're droning and trying to formulate that plan and work the vertical, we maybe just need to get ourselves up there. Miracle does drop back, but Rare is still on the prowl. He's not going to see Perez at all. And he's going to pick up his second kill inside of the round. Lender now getting chunked down from small entrances. Well, eventually it will happen. Ion there, the one to land the shots. Miracle now. I mean, he's been one of the best players on the side of FURIA, but really, what is he able to do?
He's going to need a miracle
here? Look at him go. Finds himself 30 seconds left. Manages to avoid one of the stuns, but will be caught out in the second. There's still enough time here for Black Dragons to rush through, or maybe even just try and guarantee this with a plant, and it looks as though that's what Live's going to try and do. Shots now being exchanged. All Miracle needs to do is kill the planter here, and he's going to get his chance. Can he land his shots? No, the cruel recoil and the short magazine of the SMG-11 is going to be his undoing. Now his location's known. He swings onto one, but he eventually gets taken out by Live. A plant and a kill to clean things up there.
That is agonizing for Miracle there. He sees the man, but he just sees a sliver and he can't get those shots. And we could all feel the disappointment that he must have felt as that SMG recoil just dictated the round for him. He just couldn't control it quite enough to hit enough shots. And like you say, the small mag size all played into it. If that one goes down, he's 1v2, and you start looking at things maybe a little bit differently with the diffuser down cold on the ground and time ticking away. Maybe people start panicking and things, they get turned around, but there was no panic in Black Dragons there. They were able to very calmly get that one over the line, get it on the scoreboard, 5-4. They've got themselves a nice late advantage here in this matchup.
That's where you want it. It doesn't matter who wins the first round, it matters who wins the last. And if that's what Black Dragon's mentality is coming into this one, then GG's, because they've really started to ramp things up over the course of the last couple of rounds. And their attacks have impressed me. I think their attacks is somewhere that they've put a lot of work into here. It isn't just out-and-out aggression. There's a focus on getting the plant down, even when they're in such a man advantage situation. And I think it's just a bit of a nod of respect as to what's gone on already inside of this game with, you know, 1vx's really sort of going in the one's favor. We've seen Black Dragons benefit from that a couple of times. FURIA themselves have done quite well in the clutches. So both of these teams having that clutch potential, and I think both just sort of recognizing, but maybe Black Dragons sort of taking it a little bit more seriously there with that focus on getting the plant down, putting the pressure onto Miracle, and getting themselves a bit of a lead here.
Interesting use of the Argus cam from Patoxit on the 0 there, taking that immediate long shot to take out the default cam, but also provide a lot of information across the top of that mezzanine. Now then, the second Argus goes in, does get spotted out by the Echo. He did get hit with the Z-ping before he managed to spot out the SAM cam there, but given that he's seen it, I would expect him to change his position somewhat. Not massively maybe, but he just needs to get himself away from exactly where he was playing, because that is what's going to happen. The nades are going to come in, the shots are going to rain up through the floor, and he just needs to make sure he's not there when they do.
So Lender's not playing the mirror window this time. He's instead going to use the Hibana holes. He's going to take down Perez in a shot that's only befitting onto somebody like Perez, because they're the kind of shots that he hits. Nutty. Little couple of taps there is all it takes. Not much of a sight picture to be going on. First time for a long time, it feels as well. Black Dragon's actually going to get... Sorry, FURIA are going to get the opener inside of this one. Black Dragons have really dominated that entry kill so far. So to get one back in this round for FURIA when they need it is going to be ideal.
It is, like you say, for the longest time, it's all been Black Dragons. We had Lender picking up a couple to begin with in round 1 and 2, but just getting his team back on track there with a big start. But FURIA, they need to convert this. That's the thing. They need to make this work. And generally speaking, when they've got that opening kill, they have done well within the round. Heise is going to take a lot of damage from Trench Door there. Just dip away from that fight for the time being. Get himself back onto site, which at this point is probably a good idea. 1 minute left to go. And we've got Black Dragons established inside a Solarium. But remember, they are attacking onto Kitchen and Dining. So still got quite a lot of work to do here. They've got 55 seconds. They look to find a kill onto the Aruni of Fantasy. He's had a quiet game so far and will be shut down, but Rare with a very important trade immediately onto resets there. 4 versus 3 now for FURIA.
FURIA still in a good position here. The diffuser is going to be in the hands of Live, but there's so much to get through upstairs. They've got these laser gates that are still going to be in place. Obviously, with the site being downstairs and kitchen, you need to try and hold some of that utility for later on. I think Ion's just going to walk straight through as he does actually get chunked on down. He's going to make his way down and start to try and pressure in, see if he can gain any advantage. Live has a chance here at a wallbang, but he isn't going to have the intel. Instead, he's just going to walk straight on in front of Miracle and get taken out there. Highs still doing his best despite his low health. He's going to be able to put a couple of shots on down range. Patoxy gets this one dangerously close, but time is going to do the rest. Highs, in fact, picking up the kill as the clock hits 0.
Beautiful couple of shots from Patoxy at the air then, but nothing but stat padding for him, unfortunately, as the time ticks away. The final kill does come in. Highs managed to get it in the absolute nick of time. And that's going to bring us back to 5-all. And still the trend continues that neither team can get themselves a 2-round advantage here. Both of them just keeping in constant touch with the other, keeping themselves fighting. And what an opener we have seen to this best of 3 so far on Chalet. I'm on the edge of my seat. I know that everybody at home's on the edge of theirs, because this one could go absolutely anywhere. And let's not forget the stakes for both of these teams. FURIA on that meteoric rise. They've been to SI. They've had a fantastic performance, and what better way to really cement that and lock it down than with another Copa Elite 6 strong performance going through and qualifying for that major. But then Black Dragons reaching this point with the skin of the teeth, just fighting tooth and nail for every opportunity that they've got and able to maybe get through to that major. They both know how important this first map is. And boy, are they going to fight hard for it now. Only one of these teams is going to get an opportunity at closing this one out in regulation, and we're going to decide exactly who that is here in round 11.
We're going to have to see a team book a trend as well. We're going to have to see somebody win a couple of rounds in a row, which up until this point isn't something that we have seen. And we've certainly not seen a 2-round lead. So the pressure really is on now. This is a big, big round. It gives you that chance at a match point, as you say, and it gives you that chance to convert that and to take map 1. It's a best of 3 series, so with this being map 1, there's still a lot of siege to get through today. And this by no means is going to decide who wins between these two teams, but it's going to be a big indicator moving in onto that second map with the advantage. Is always a nice place to be. And let's be honest, if Black Dragons win here, this was FURIA's map pick, so they really could throw a cat among the pigeons there and upset a few things.
That's it. It really puts you on the back foot potentially. And coming into Kafe, that's going to be in FURIA's mind. But then you can put a couple of kills coming in from there. Rare there. What a great start for him. He's having a great day so far overall, to be fair. 8 and 6. He's really contributing. You know, this is a player coming in who I said he's got 5 plants to his name. He's picking up that diffuser. He's doing some of the support work, but he's also getting in and getting the kills that his team needs, really contributing. And I'm sure they are happy with his performance, not just today, but throughout the Copa Elite 6. 5 versus 3 for FURIA, and it looks like they could be the ones to take the opportunity to get this one done inside of 12 rounds. Now, the one thing I would say for FURIA, historically, they're a team that will scrap for wins. And that's the one thing I would count against Black Dragons at this point in time. I'm not saying they can't, but FURIA I've seen a number of times win these tough, hard-fought games. They never seem to tire.
What's going to be key today, they've given themselves a really good springboard here to get this match point, given that they've managed to get a couple of opening kills. They've taken down the Zafir and the Hard Breach as well in the Hibana, so there's a lot of utility that has gone with Live and Ion. And it's utility that I doubt will have been used to its full potential, given that it looked like a little bit of a run out from Rare, just trying to throw a little bit of pace into the mixture. Nice vertical angle here being found by Resets, but it's not going to be enough to net the kill. Instead, Highs is going to be able to take down Perez. And we do see Resets think about getting the nade through, but the laser gate is likely going to mean that the first one goes to waste, although he is in fact going to go and try and nade down into that garage. Just use his drone to try and burn the laser gate, but Everybody knows where he is at this point, and he's really just announcing himself. He's essentially waiting to be flanked by Lender. The nade is going to go down. We see Lender move through and dip, but Fantasy is going to be in place to deal with that one. Lender, he comes back up the stairs. He's been hiding down there pretty much for the entire round, just waiting for the right time to strike. And the right time was then. That's going to put FURIA onto a map point here.
Perfect time for a flawless round for FURIA as well. Just really locking down that site in Bar and Gaming and getting it closed out. They're going to head up to a master bedroom next time around. If we have a look, they've only defended up on the top floor once back in round 8. And you guessed it, they got themselves the win up there. So this could be a big, big round for Black Dragons. Not going to be easy for them. It's a site that they are yet to win. They've got to crack this nut coming in. They need to get the opening kills for me. A lot of the rounds have gone in the direction of those entry kills where teams have gone in and got the advantage. We've seen round 10, round 11, both gone to FURIA. Lender in round 10, Rare in round 11. FURIA coming in and just getting those big openers. And so for me, Black Dragons need to be very careful. I want to see them trying to get established inside a library. Nice and carefully, keep your men alive. Be aware of what's underneath, and then maybe a one-man setup on Solarium window just to offer a little pressure from that north side, so that FURIA can't just completely focus on the southwest.
Let's see what Black Dragons have up their sleeve here for this round. In a very similar setup when FURIA defended up here previously. Lender on the Echo being that player that we got the nice opener onto Perez. He was playing inside of the little cubby behind the deployable shield. He's got the line of sight through onto the Solarium windows, and as soon as they get opened by Hibana, well, we all know that they work both ways, and you are able to gain a bit of an advantage if you know that somebody is going to be out there on the rappel. And maybe that's why we're seeing a slightly different approach for the majority of Black Dragons here, as most of the side has spawned over toward the library side. We do still have Perez, who's going to try and challenge on that Solarium, it seems. He's managed to open up the windows, and we'll have to try and burn out those laser gates to get any drones or get any utility on through.
Toxic just applying pressure simultaneously to main door and to the new balcony. He's going to no doubt open up that window and just to look and cut off the rotations for the defenders. But by dropping back down, that does just give them a little bit of comfort that they can still operate in and around that mezzanine area for the time being if needs be. We've got live established inside of library now. So far, so good for Black Dragons, but do need to find themselves that opening kill. As I say, they need something to drive them forward in this round. Ion's going to go in looking to find it. I think he's aware that there's a man playing underneath in and around kitchen dining, but they're likely to just move themselves more back up the trophy stairs side of things, if anything.
Black Dragons have been given a lot of space to work with here, and I think this alternate approach has really worked out quite well for them. They're going to be pushing in from this library side. They've not shown any attention to Solarium. This is really where we saw, you know, sort of Chalet starting off, was a library-sided push. Get open the wall from outside the balcony and just start to try and work in that way. And then it was only later on that we saw Solarium become the trend. And now it's always good to throw one of these library-sided pushes in because it can really start to work with you. Fancy, he's going to get himself stunned out. He's just playing on the edge of piano. He's trying to hold off onto the window, stopping anybody from hopping on him, but he will lose his shield. He loses his power position instead and getting droned, and a bit of a world of hurt, but does manage to find the kill over onto Ion. Still now confident to push his way on up. Black Dragons, the first kill coming in quite late. 45 seconds left. They've got a lot of work to do. Fantasy, he's just ramping things up now.
It's like Fantasy's just seen the playbook ahead of time there and just knows exactly what is going to be done as we have the Iana trying to aggress out onto the balcony. He's having absolutely none of it. And what's quite interesting is that FURIA have taken on board this deployable shield setup that I was talking about on piano. It is so powerful, and Black Dragons haven't been able to find a way through it. And right now, kills are raining in. Highs and Rare getting one apiece and leaving live in a 1 versus 4. He's low health, about 27 HP. Highs swings him. It's a trade, but it doesn't matter as FURIA are able to close out Chalet and get the win in what has been a hard-fought game.
A very tough opening map there inside of this best of 3 for our first quarter-final game. But FURIA are going to come away the winners inside of this one. Big performance from Fantasy Highs and Rare as they sit atop, and I guess Lender Miracle as well. A very similar spread of kills there for the side of FURIA. Some of the players on the side of Black Dragons just lacking a little bit there, but by no means does that speak to how close a game that was. It took us right up until the end for a team to have a lead of 2 rounds, and that was enough to clinch the entire map for FURIA.
Yeah, I think for me there, what I'm seeing is a really great team effort from FURIA. As you say, the difference between bottom kills and top kills, 9 and 13. Whereas, think about the rounds that Black Dragons won, or nearly won. We had an almost 1v5 clutch. We had a 1v4 clutch. Much more individual efforts, and I think that's probably been the differentiating factor between these two teams on Chalet, has been that FURIA were just able to play that little bit more cohesively.
Yeah, and that's really what we were expecting out of FURIA. I think we were expecting them to be that team that was, just a little bit more together. And they've had that time, they've been through that international competition. They have had a little bit more time together as a team. And for Black Dragons to come in there and do what they've done is very impressive indeed. They really pushed FURIA there. And it would be very easy for us to be sat here saying, Black Dragons, they were able to get that map because it really wasn't very close, not at least until the end. We're going to bring Riley back in here and we're going to have a bit of a further discussion about that map and, of course, the further maps inside of this best of 3, as there are potentially 3 available.
Yes, indeed. G'day, boys, and welcome back to me. I didn't think that through. I really didn't. I was like, yeah, welcome back to me, I guess, to the broadcast. Hello, it's me, Riley. Hello, everyone, and I hope you've enjoyed our first match here. It certainly was, again, one that we saw neither team give an inch to each other. The scoreline really, really close all the way through until that match point was made available. And look, again, I want to talk about what we're seeing here in terms of the stakes, in terms of the difference between the group play and now in the LATAM League finals here. Ace, is this typical? Are we going to see scrappier, hard-fought, closer matches, less sort of whitewashing, less wiping the floor with people? Is this what people can expect this weekend?
Well, there's 2 things that happen here, Ali. Obviously, first and foremost, there's a lot to play for, and that's true of every season game, but it just comes into sharp focus now. It's immediate. If I win this, I get that. So yeah, of course, that plays into things. But also, let's not forget, we're seeing maps here. Chalet, Kafe, the 2 maps that we've barely seen through the regular season. Kafe only 4 times in stage 2 of the BR6. So again, that all plays into it. These are strats that teams are keeping under wraps, so they can't prepare, they can't counter-strat in the same way. So yeah, we would expect these closer fights.
Yeah, indeed. It really is a joy to watch. We're going to take a quick break. We've got some highlights from the last map to show you there, but stick around because on the other side of this, we'll be jumping back into our second match. So don't go anywhere. More Siege after this. Welcome back to live coverage of the LATAM League finals. Riley and I, the driver's seat here alongside Ace and Ollie. I believe the finishing touches are getting put on the setup of our next match. Ollie, we're headed off to Kafe, and you've been part of the broadcast through this entire group stage here, heading into this LATAM League finals. We haven't seen a lot of Kafe. What are you expecting?
We really haven't. Kafe isn't a map that we do tend to get a lot of inside of the BR6. I'm not too sure why. I don't know if it's a map that they kind of save for special occasions like we are in now. But it's a map that FURIA regularly ban. It is their most banned map. From the side of Black Dragons, they've got a reasonable win rate on it. They've played it 3 times. They've won it 67% of the time. So they've won it twice, essentially. It's one of those maps that I think, we get to see on special occasions. We get to see it brought out, particularly inside of a best of 3, because it isn't one of those sort of 50-50 maps like we see quite regularly in your Clubhouse and your Oregon. It is a map that we can see teams, have a significant advantage on, and there are different ways to approach it based on, the team. It requires a lot of coordination, particularly on the attack, and the attack is usually what gets pushed the most on Kafe. And I think that that's probably, even though it's a map that Black Dragons have chosen, with the way that we've seen FURIA attack, it could be something that benefits them.
Looks like we're ready to get underway. We're going to head down to Kafe for the first time in a long time here in LATAM coverage, my friends. Let's get underway with our next matchup between FURIA and Black Dragons here, live at the LATAM League Finals. Your casters, Ace and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Riley. We are going to be hopping on now into map number 2 inside of quarterfinal number 1. FURIA versus Black Dragons. We get to go to Kafe, Tim. We haven't been to Kafe in a bit of a minute, so I'm looking forward to what we see here.
Often the same the world around, to be fair. As you say, Kafe, just one of those maps that seems to get kept under wraps. I don't know whether, I think, teams do tend to bring it out in the best of 3s. They want to hold on to it and just keep something off the radar, and this is usually it. Now, Thatcher and Iana, they're going off the radar as they get taken out in our operator bans. That's going to be the 2 attackers down. Thatcher, pretty much standard. Iana, bit of a bold play possibly from FURIA there.
Certainly seems that way, doesn't it? Is it a Perez ban?
I mean, after the last map, to be fair, I couldn't blame them for targeting him. He's obviously hot today.
I mean, he's hot today, but he's not had a hot Copa so far. He's been one of the lowest rated players, I think, based on sort of rating alone. And from your Ash Jaeger player, you're expecting a little bit more. Now, obviously, we use the term Ash Jaeger as just a sort of loose term now because not a lot of people play Ash, though we may see Perez pick onto Ash later on when they get onto the attack. But you would expect a little bit more, maybe, out of that player that's meant to be on the entry. And I think he showed that inside of Chalet. He showed that potential.
Looking back at the 4 players, and I'll say well in advance, it's only a small sample size that we've got. 4 times it's been played, 44 rounds in total, but a 64% win rate for the defenders on Kafe just in the BR6 Stage 2. So out of the 4 games that we have seen on there's been a reasonably well played out advantage for the defenders. Now, we've got Black Dragons coming in and starting things on the defence here. Could play either way for them. If it gives them the best foot forward, then great stuff. If they struggle to lock this down and come away with another 3-3 half, for example, then it could be time to start worrying about them.
Yeah, I think FURIA have probably got the tougher side to start on here. Kafe is a map that is always more hassled for the attackers. And honestly, one of the main reasons for that is it can take you 30 seconds to a minute to get on the roof. If you get a bad spawn, if you spawn a little bit further out than the closest possible route, then you've got to watch out for spawn peaks and people blinding themselves out of windows, which I'm expecting to see between these 2 teams, believe me. Then you've then got to get onto the rappel and successfully get yourself up to the roof. You've got to dodge the C4 that comes out of the hatch inevitably. And then you look at the time and you're like, well, that was an enjoyable 30 seconds. So that's one of the reasons why, for the attackers at least, it is a very difficult map because time is so pressured.
It really is, as you say, it takes you 30 seconds to get established on the top of the building, which we can see is now happening, but that's before you can even start with any sort of clearance. Now, we are attacking onto the top floor, so in some ways it does have less of an impact because you don't have to clear the entire top floor, because obviously you're just looking to get in, get partial control, and then move on to site to get a diffuser down potentially. But when we come into the later rounds as well, it's a point to keep your eye on throughout this, is that time factor and how teams are managing it, because it really can be a real sticking point for them when you've got to get in on that top floor and clear all the way down. I remember looking at the EUL stats recently, and in EU, this is one of the latest average plant times. We see it at like 2 minutes 51 or something, like really late into the round, that teams are trying to get that diffuser down, and it could be the same issue here today.
I think if it's not a rush, it's a late plant. And that's usually how Kafe goes. If people are Amaroing up onto the roof and hopping down the skylight and lion scanning the way through, you're going to be seeing quite late executes here. Both these two teams showing quite a lot of respect. I'm honestly quite surprised to not see Black Dragons trying to take advantage of some of that information that they've got. Something that we haven't really touched on yet is that Valkyrie's available and being picked. I mean, the second part of that isn't really too much of a surprise. If Valk isn't banned, you better believe that you're seeing a lot of Valkyrie played. So Live has got a lot of information to be going off here. Reset's playing on the Echo as well. Black Dragons have certainly got all that they need to start making these challenges. So far, they're just taking things very steadily indeed, letting FURIA get further and further established into this push.
That's it. FURIA are doing very well here, moving through the map reasonably unchallenged. We've still got a minute left. They've got themselves control of Piano. They're in Cigar Shop. They're feeding information back in, and Black Dragons are just sort of sitting waiting for the tide to wash over them at the minute. High's looking to make a challenge onto the Valkyrie, just sees the slight pixel here and there as the man Live just dips back and forward in and out of cover, but they won't be able to find those lethal shots. They do take a little bit of chip damage now. Then Ion, what are you doing? He's looking to get out of this window. I tell you now, Fantasy, he does get that kill eventually onto the Valkyrie of Live. 20 seconds left to go, and FURIA, they need to get moving, and with 4 men alive on the side of Black Dragons, this is not ideal. Ion manages to get one onto Fantasy to level things up 4 versus 4. Rare has diffuser in hand. He's going to need to start getting it down, but he gets taken out deep in sight. Resets and Patoxy, an important 2 kills. 4 seconds, 1v2. Surely this is too much to ask, as Miracle watches that clock tick away. The final kill comes in from Freezer. Black Dragons, they keep on with that defensive trend.
And again, not much of a surprise to see that round being very heavily pressured on the clock. Something worth pointing out there is the amount of information that was available for Black Dragons. They still had outside Valkyrie cameras that weren't challenged. FURIA are running an IQ and they still can't keep up with that. You've got to imagine, you're not only trying to get yourself onto the roof so you can start your attacking round, then you want to think about finding Valkyrie cameras or any bits of utility that have been thrown out. No, thank you. It isn't something that is very practical to do. So IQ or not, those cameras are going to survive, and you're likely going to rely on naked eye to see them. And it's not something that FURIA were able to spot out. The patience and the way that Black Dragons played that, knowing that they had all that information, knowing where those players were, and instead of challenging, they were just happy to take the fights that were in front of them. They weren't trying to extend to get these free kills, air quotes free by the way, because it's going to come at a cost when you try and get yourself back in if you are going for those jump outs. Black Dragons have tempered that aggression perfectly inside of that round, and they've done a fantastic job of just letting FURIA in and then shutting the door behind them.
Exactly that. They've just kept their heads very, very cool inside of that one. We'll see if they can continue it. They're going to be heading to Reading this time. You're going to see a fairly similar defense coming out of Black Dragons. They're going to try to keep hold of top floor for as long as possible. The reason being, on the right-hand side of your screen as we look at it at the minute, that whole cocktail area is a soft floor right above the site, and the vertical angles that can be gained and the superiority is considerable. So the defenders, they will try to keep hold of that for as long as possible. FURIA going to play into it, probably much the same as they have done during that previous round. Get themselves established in Cigar, in Piano, and sweep across that entire top floor from there. Force the defenders back to site and then use that verticality against them. Lender particularly on the sledge. Get in there, just rip up that floor, do some renovation work, and get those angles to just rain terror down onto those defenders in sight.
Again, plenty of information available for Black Dragons inside of this round. We get a nice preview of all of the cameras, but Fantasy, he has got other ideas. I'm not sure how, but he's already managed to get himself into mining and find a kill onto Ion. It's going to do something to remove a C4, and already Fantasy can essentially cut through that dining room site. Got a nice angle there that doesn't quite stretch to the white stairs, but it's as near as damn it, and he's going to be able to just hold that through into the fireplace. Now, the big problem is he isn't really being supported by his team. and he's quite susceptible to a flank there. That's a zone that you're going to see defenders move on through. But again, Black Dragon's playing this really soft defense where they are giving up a lot of the map and they're just happy to contest in the later portion of the round. The drone work comes through and it's going to clear that site. Fantasy now knows that there's not really going to be anybody there, and he can start to look to press this advantage elsewhere.
Bit of a stalemate reached around the mid-round as the droning continues. The information phase live was so close to hitting himself a headshot there as the man moved through Cigar, but he just pulled away at the wrong moment. He's going to continue to challenge this. Live is likely to pay his entire life here, just holding on to this position for as long as possible for the reasons explained earlier. Fantasy, he's joined the top floor attack now, and this push needs to pick up a little bit of pace. 55 seconds left to go, and they need to start getting some kills to open things out here. Patoxy just covering his man from the far backstage area there, taking those Hibana pellets off the reinforcement and helping Live stay in place. Great teamwork.
Black Dragons, again, not feeling too much pressure to challenge or move here. They're really leaning into these angles that they know to be powerful. Now we're going to see a bit of a top floor clear come in as Red does move on through, but kills are now starting to go in the other direction as Patoxy and Live pick up a couple each. It's going to be leveled out as Red does move his way on through. He's now looking to deal with the player inside of Freezer. We know that to be Patoxy. Going to have the Bearing 9 in hand, but Patoxy, he takes things into his own hands. He's able to take down Rare there. Miracle, he's going to be on the site. He doesn't have the diffuser. It is a bit of a pointless endeavor at this point. The kit is being watched from above, and Miracle, he's being chipped down as he tries to make his way through. This round's going to go the same as the last. Cut down on time. Patoxy, what a big performance from him.
Looking ahead at this point and not wanting to get carried away, that's a good couple of rounds for Black Dragons here, and if they're able to shut down their map choice of Kafe, and the reason that we see it so heavily banned for FURIA is because they just don't like playing here, it could be a bit of a problem for FURIA, because often in best of threes, you've got to think when you do go to that decider map, whoever's won the second map carries that momentum forward. They're the ones that have fought back. They're the ones that have made that mental challenge onto the other team to be able to drag a map in their direction, and they go in there having just won one. So that could be a factor for Black Dragons here, and they might well just have a little bit of a benefit from the fact that their map choice was the second choice in the list. But there's a long way to go before we get there yet. We're going to be heading down to Kitchen this time around for round number 3. Nothing extraordinary on the side of Black Dragons. Vigil is one to watch out for, I'd say. Perez has brought along the Vigil. Been a little bit quieter so far inside of Kafe than he was on Chalet. So he's going to look to get himself off inside of the map and just try and make a nuisance of himself. And as I said, that top floor clearance needs to come down from FURIA. And an operator like Vigil plays into that time issue perfectly, because he's just going to waste a ton of it.
I think this is where we really see Black Dragons start to flex this advantage now. They've been able to pick up a couple of rounds. It isn't something that happened on Chalet. It's an entirely new mindset for these players to be in. That, you know what, we could actually storm away with a few here on the defense. There's not a lot that Fury have been able to do. They're very slow moving in the things that they're trying to accomplish. And Black Dragons are really assisting the clock moving in their direction with exactly how they are playing it. FURIA have tried for a bit more of a direct approach in sending Fantasy in, and whilst he was able to find early success, there was nothing there to back it up, and that early success didn't translate into more ground being gained earlier on. It was still a very slow and steady push. So now we see other things being brought. You mentioned the Vigil, which is going to do something to waste a lot of time and waste a lot of drones as well. Perez is feeling confident to get himself out there on the roam. He could really cause a nuisance with that. And then on the flip side, we see Miracle bring in the Lion, maybe trying to inject a little bit more pace into this one.
What I'm finding interesting here is that FURIA, by and large, are actually just foregoing that top floor clearance. They're getting themselves established inside a bakery here and looking to clear the wall out. We've got Lender with the sledge above, but he's the only player on the side of FURIA that I've actually seen moving into those upper levels at this point in time. And there are Black Dragons players up there, so that could give FURIA a little man advantage when it comes to pushing directly into sight. But what they need to be careful of is that they don't go getting themselves flanked later in the round. Now, Rare, he's going to look to get the nade in there and just try and force men back away from the breach he was looking to open up, but he got away with it one way or another. That's going to clear things out, and access to the plant spot has been gained. We're still 5 versus 5. We're at the halfway mark. Challenge comes in from resets. It's on to Miracle at the bottom of red stairs, but he can't finish the kill.
This is really how these rounds have been going. There's been an opportunity for Furia, and Black Dragons are almost sitting back and saying, well, go on then, take it. We're more than happy for you to push on in at this point, because we've got a lot of things that we can throw at you to deal with it. They've got 3 Toxic Babe canisters. They've got a couple of C4s as well. They really are able to try and contend with this. Lender, however, will kick things off. Finds a kill onto Perez. Live is now pushed forward into prep, and he's going to be playing the shotgun at quite close range. The Lion Scan shouldn't bother him too much, but Fantasy, he's been able to push his way on through and will catch Live as he tries to retreat. Now, that's a big piece of the puzzle gone. That is going to be the Toxic Babe canisters removed. Fantasy, look at him move on through. Picks up resets as well. Can now start to draw a line through that site and cut off any potential rotates. Patoxy, he's going to be forced upstairs as well, as Ion is desperately trying to discover a vertical angle. But it's all a little bit too little too late. The plant's down and it's a 5 versus 5. This is where Furia excels. Patoxy, he's found 1, but he won't find 2. Fantasy comes in, 3 kills on the round there. Furia looking entirely different, attacking onto the bakery.
Furia doing a great job there in round 3 to put one up on the scoreboard. That brings them back within a round and just stops them from getting too far out of touch. The danger there for Black Dragons, of course, was running away with things and getting that complete defensive sweep of 3 sites and just being able to rinse and repeat, which is exactly what they're going to do as we move into round 4. They're going to head back up to Bar and Game, and it was a site that they won very, very well last time around. They were never really any control gained from Furia. I didn't feel it was late in the round that they were trying to get themselves into sight and to think about getting that diffuser down, and it was a pretty simple mop-up for Black Dragons on the top floor.
Let's see if Furia can make a bit of a trend of this. There's potential to level things up here. They've not been level yet inside of this one. It's been all Black Dragons up to now. I'm thinking, are they going to be able to apply a little bit more of the pace that they saw in that previous round? Because whilst Furia weren't much quicker, they were better at taking those opportunities, I think. And that's something that we usually see. Furia are a funny team as well. They're almost either flawless or bust. In that, if they win a round on attack, it's typically a flawless or very close to flawless round. Whereas sometimes when they get really, really scrappy, they're just not able to get those ones over the line. So, and that's kind of been a bit of a story of the day as well. In a lot of the rounds they came away with on Chalet, they were the only side that got flawless rounds, and they got a good number of them, or close to. And you really just get the feeling that if that momentum's on their side, that they are that team that can run away with it.
See if that happens as things progress. 20 seconds in here, we have an opener from Miracle, manages to find the head of Ion, and that is going to get Furia off to another good start. The thing is now, if they can steal away one of these big sites from Black Dragons, if they can get that top floor where Black Dragons are looking to secure themselves at least 2 rounds over their defensive period, that's a big steal for Furia, because you start looking at it thinking we're on for that 3-3 half potentially, and once they get onto the defense, that might be too much of a mountain for Black Dragons to climb. So Black Dragons need to be very careful here, even with a man disadvantage, that they don't let this get away from them. Fantasy going to take an absolute ton of damage there as bullets rain into his chest and shoulders whilst he's on the rappel. Fortunate for him, none of them caught him on the head and took him out of the round, but still he's down to about 30 HP, and that is not going to be helpful for Furia.
It's not really where you want Fantasy sitting, as you want him to have that confidence to move on through. He did have to dip off the rappel there, and I'm not sure if he actually got the job done that he was intending to do, but still, it isn't going to slow them down too much. Rare is able to pick off Live, straight from underneath New Hatch over onto the Heaven balcony. Perez is going to be a tough nut to crack, though. He's going to be playing inside of the washroom. Resets gets himself droned into Freezer as well. Black Dragon's really investing quite a lot into those 2 areas. And well, they're pretty much the only 2 areas that they have left. Patoxy, he's going to find himself down as Lender shuts down Resets. Resets just getting a little bit too aggro there. You've got to hope and expect somebody to be holding on to that skylight. A revive going to come through here, but again, Furia in such a commanding position. The Toxic Babe canisters are going to cut off for a couple of seconds, but Perez, He's only got one left. He's going to be giving a freebie on to Fancy as Fancy tried to move on through. There's tons of drones left here for Furia, and they've got loads of time. They just need to spend a little bit of those two things.
I'm surprised that Fantasy's just gone running in there, not being in his ADS, just not really considering that there could be a player inside of the Varback storage. Miracle taking damage on a long angle, but the kill comes in as Rare it is who finds Patoxy to save his teammate. Not for long though, as Perez will manage to finish him off. 3 versus 1, Rare getting that diffuser down. Out goes Toxic Babe, and with only a fraction of health, Rare has to come off the diffuser, but it doesn't matter because it flushes the man out of Barback storage and he gets shut down on an angle from balcony, and that's going to be round number 4 going to Furia. 2 apiece now.
Well, Furia have leveled things up here. They haven't let Black Dragons get too much of a lead over them. It's taken them a couple of rounds to get into Kafe. But so far, they've been successful upstairs. That was a site that they struggled on previously. They won downstairs in Bakery, of course, and we didn't actually see Black Dragons reattempt that site. Kind of curious to see Black Dragons reattempt the top floor as well, as the top floor, for my money, isn't a very popular site on Kafe. So again, no real surprise to see back down to Reading to see if they can find any sort of surety there. Black Dragons, they do need to start picking up a couple of rounds here. They are on the favoured side, so a 3-3 split really is a minimum, and they should be gunning for a 4-2.
Gotta be, absolutely gotta be, and you're quite right about that top floor site. I've commented before, LATAM is one of the best defensive regions of that top floor site, and honestly, it's still only ever 50-50 at best. It's not a site that seems to really excel on the defense. Reading and Kitchen tend to, around the world, have much better defensive statistics. So Black Dragons, I think, right to just move away, get themselves somewhere else and try and get Reading done. And then, like you say, maybe the decision comes in, do we go Kitchen, do we go Bar, where have we felt closest? But that last round, it was just all Furia. Now then, coming into round number 5, we've got top floor once again being set up for a hold from the defenders. We've got lands of sight being opened up just to try and make it difficult for Furia to get in there. They don't want them feeling too comfortable too quickly. They need to make sure that they feel under the hammer here, make sure they feel the pressure. Last time around, Fantasy, of course, going in through mining and managing to get himself a nice entry kill in and around train and dining, but not going to try the same thing twice.
No, I think that Fantasy's probably wise to avoid that this time and instead go for a little bit more of a comprehensive push, because as soon as he got himself onto that top floor, a push really started to establish from Furia. And I would expect to see very similar here and now. If he starts off here, we could see a bit more success inside of the early part of the round, because it took Furia a very long time to start really significantly challenging this top floor. It's quite a one-dimensional approach as it is, so they do need to be very conscious and careful of how they start to work that. Now, we've got a lot of info, again, available for Black Dragons in the Valkyrie cameras that Live is able to chuck on out there. There should be a bit of a early warning that there's going to be attackers inside, at least, of Cigar Lounge, so you would expect Black Dragons to act appropriately here and just try and waste the time and try and get themselves back onto the site when required.
He's going to hold that angle onto the pixel spot door, looking out into White Corridor. Perez, he needs to be careful that he doesn't get too aggressive here, because if he does, he might just find himself getting removed from the round, as that angle was at least being covered. We can hear the Maverick work going on to one side. Rare just looking to open up a line into the washroom there, prevent anybody playing inside, but I'm not sure how aware they are of Perez just playing himself on the angle there. Fantasy with a great flick across, manages to get the kill on to Perez, but he does manage to put some shots onto Rare. It's going to be all clear for the man to be collected though, so it's a net win for Furia coming in there on the man count. But let's not forget they are attacking into Reading Room, so with 50 seconds left to go, there's a lot of work for Furia still.
Furia really can't rest on the laurels here. They've got to try and continue on to this top floor push. They've got a bit of an alternate approach coming in now. A C4 going to land from Live. It does chunk highs down somewhat. Still, Black Dragons, they're really just stacking the site. They are looking for scrappy gunfights here to close this one out. You can tell that with the angles that are being held. Very close quarters. And that's the engagements that they are expecting now. The site is no longer really a safe place to be, although Live will make a rotation back on in. Fancy, he's been able to shut down Patoxy, can continue to come down these white stairs. Lender, he's able to pick off Live. That could open up a plant, and a plant will now go down and be attempted. Ion gets a huge kill onto Fantasy. That really could be round winning. As resets, he moves on through as well, but the plant has gone down. Lender coming up with a couple of kills on the vertical there to lock things off. Really keeping a good overwatch there for FURIA.
Things starting to look a little bit bleak for Black Dragons now, as FURIA managed to get themselves 3 rounds in a row on attack and give themselves, as an absolute minimum, a 3-all split on the half, where they will then come in to the defensive phase. They could well yet find themselves another. We're going to be heading back up to the top floor. It's a site that was won by FURIA in round 4 on the attack, and it was won convincingly. Black Dragons, over the last couple of rounds, I just feel like they've really started to drop off at X. They're not winning in those gunfights at all.
It's somewhere that they're really struggling. The last couple of rounds on paper are rounds that they really should be coming away with, but they're not able to contend and they're not able to challenge heavily enough. And this sort of mentality that we saw them pull off in rounds 1 and 2 of giving up a lot of map control because it's Kafe and it's going to take an attacking team a lot of time to do anything anyway, and then we're going to shut them down. It worked for them in the early part of the game. It did. You know, they were able to pick up a couple of rounds. But after that, FURIA have injected a little bit more pace. They've been much better at those trades and particularly getting that plant down there. It was a very good approach there from FURIA with the cover that they had vertically. So again, a bit of a strange one. And for Black Dragons to be coming back upstairs now, it's already a comment that we've made, but they've chosen to spend half of their defensive rounds upstairs on this top floor. That's got to be a bit of a bold decision.
It does, and I think, you know, this round probably really determines the success of it. You know, if they can come away with another defensive win here and you say, okay, you've won 2 out of 3 that you've played upon the top floor, yeah, it's probably not a resounding success, but it's certainly acceptable. But that's not going to be a great start for them, as Miracle manages to find a headshot onto Ion, taking the Goyo out of things, and along with the Goyo, of course, going one of those nitros that could have been used for that vertical denial underneath. So,
oh, what?
Fantasy, I'm not sure what has just happened there. He's going to look away now, give the man his dignity at least.
Oh, there is no hiding away from stuff like this. You've got to take that on the chin, and you've just got to accept your fate. Falling off the roof, never fun, especially dependent on the circumstance. Like if you're searching for a Valkyrie camera, perhaps, and you just sort of in your ADS. I don't know how he's managed it, because you've got a vault over that roof anyway, so it really is a bit of a weird one. But alas, Fantasy will be picked up. But with the early advantage again here going to FURIA, I'm sure that they're not going to be too concerned. They've made an addition. They've made a change. They have brought the Monty. Typically, Rare has been running the Heart Breach. This time, however, he is going to be running the Shield. How does Lender get that kill? He has got no business taking Live down there.
Absolutely none whatsoever. Live gets those early shots and just couldn't get the MPX to bear. And to find that headshot, Lender taking little more than graze damage there, who's able to move back across. Now, Fantasy, honestly, Fantasy...
It's not his round.
This is a round to forget for the Brazilian Bolo. You know, we've referred to the gun skill of Fantasy. He's an influential player round after round for this FURIA team, but just not here in round 6 of Kafe. He's had a mare. He's had an absolute nightmare.
He has. It's certainly not one for the highlight reel, that would be sure. I don't think it'll be making its way onto Twitter, at least. I don't think he'll be posting it, but it is an opportunity for Black Dragons to start to get something back here, and they've taken down Rare. Now, FURIA, it's the first time they've brought Monty in a while. I'm not sure if they were expecting a bakery attack or something of that nature, maybe something a little bit different, but Rare hasn't been successful in his endeavors, and it's actually leveled things up here, and with only 40 seconds left, Patoxy, he's in prime position to try and take a bit of advantage here. There's a Z-ping coming out, but also he is being pre-fired. Can he land his shots, though? The answer, yes. Able to take down highs. Finds the first. Patoxy's been a big, influential player here for Black Dragons, and he's in a very good position again. He's got more information, but Miracle, he's going to be better in the engagement. Picks up one. Chip damages on to resets. The down inside of the freezer as well. So essentially, we're 1 versus 1. Miracle. He's got to try and take down Perez. He finishes the downed player. He's got 8 seconds left. He has to pre-fire this. He doesn't have a lot of health, and he's going up against the best kit in the game. Perez, he makes it happen. He clutches one up for Black Dragons.
just when they needed it as well. It was really sort of starting to hit that downhill slope for FURIA as they got themselves some momentum 3 rounds in a row. But just before the switch of sides, Black Dragons, they managed to apply that emergency brake and just bring the FURIA train screeching to a halt as they switch. The big difficulty now is, what are we going to see from FURIA on the defense? As I said, coming into this, we haven't seen an awful lot of Kafe played in the BR6, but we have seen 44 rounds of it, and it has generally favoured the defenders. FURIA, we haven't seen them play it at all, so there's going to be big questions here, because let's not forget, whilst that might not be a positive for FURIA, it certainly isn't one for Black Dragons, because there is zero information for them to go off. They don't know what FURIA is going to bring to the table here.
The last time that FURIA played Kafe, they played against Team 1. 7-5 to Team 1, so FURIA pushed it to an overtime. 4 of those 5 rounds, FURIA were able to win on the defense. So you would wager that they have got what it takes here on the defense to try and get the job done. They've got to come out with a better than a 3-3 split, otherwise we of course will end up threatened with another OT. We didn't see overtime inside of the first map, which honestly was quite surprising. FURIA dug deep when it mattered at the end, and obviously they've got the momentum inside of this game. It's a very tough position for Black Dragons to be in now. They are on a must-win map, and they are on a very difficult side to do so. This is their map choice, so you would expect them to have very clear ideas of how they want to approach things on the attack, because, being honest, the defense wasn't that crystal. It wasn't clear as to their exact intentions there, and I think choosing that top floor site a couple of times was maybe one of the bigger question marks that we had on the defensive rounds from Black Dragons as a whole. Early C4, they're going to come out and not going to do anything to Perez. Instead, Fantasy, he's going to be the one to pick up that opening engagement, takes down Patoxy, a big player on the side of BD.
We saw him have that important flank manoeuvre through Piano last time that got the round pretty much done in the end, but that's going to be good from resets, managing to get the kill onto Lender. The problem persists for Black Dragons, though, as they're unable to really take advantage when they do get those kills. Quite often, there is one that just follows straight back in from the side of FURIA, and this time it's going to be Live, who is not so live anymore as he gets put into the dirt. That's the Hibana gone, and that could be some important utility. Let's not forget that we're attacking onto Kitchen here, so wall breaching can be very important. They've still got Ion on the Maverick, and they've still got Perez on the Zofia, so they've still got the combination of operators that they might need. They've got resets on the Sledge to be able to open up those vertical angles, but they are at a man disadvantage now. And I'd say one more loss here of any of the utility they've got on the board is going to be massive X. They need these 3 operators for at least the next minute.
They've got a lot of time to work with as well. This has been a very aggressive round from FURIA. They've contended quite hotly for those sort of entry points onto the map. And as a result, it has put Black Dragons significantly on the back foot here now. We've got Highs playing an interesting mirror window setup. He's actually going to be inside of Bakery, looking through back into the site. The vertical angles do start to get opened here. We can see that that nade from resets isn't going to worry too many people down in the site. And we've got Ion. He's going to be shaping up to try and get something happening now. Information's been gathered here, and Ion knows that there's going to be a couple of people in and around that area. And, well, we're going to start to see the fruits of those couple of people in and around that area. A couple of kills coming in there from inside a Bakery. 1 from Wedding, and then Fancy from inside of the site. Quick as a flash, we see FURIA hitting that execute.
Well, this could be out of the frying pan and into the fire for Black Dragons here as FURIA. They looked super confident in round 7. They looked aggressive on the defense, getting those 2 early kills and then just flanking down, as you said, hitting men from Bakery, hitting the Nitros. They were just absolutely unstoppable for their first defensive site. Now, interestingly, as I commented, Bar and Cocktail generally being the sort of weaker of the defensive sites, and FURIA, they really are just steering into that. They're leaning right into it. They're going to go Kitchen. They're going to go Reading. They're going to work their way up with Barbie in their last choice site here, likely for round 9, should they win this one.
And that's a big difference. You know, we're seeing FURIA take advantage of the map, we're seeing them really lean into the fact that, yeah, it is widely accepted that that top floor, that cocktail site, is a difficult one to defend. It's got a great big skylight in the middle of it. And we saw loads of kills from FURIA through that skylight. We saw loads of pressure being applied as well. And they're going, you know what? We don't want anything to do with that. We don't want to know about that top floor until we've at least been inside a bakery and inside a reading room. And then we'll think about it. But even then, they've got a third choice if they need to. There are 4 sites here on Kafe, so they can make those adjustments if they feel it necessary. And so far, they're poised, ready to try and walk away with this one. 4 rounds to 3. Not too far away, and obviously with them winning map number 1, the momentum really is going to be in their favor. Kind of surprised not to see any super hyper aggressive spawn peaks. We saw Rare give it a go on Chalet. He was able to see a little bit of success. You'd think that this map would have it written all over it.
I mean, you'd think so, but I look at FURIA now and I feel like they sort of know they don't need to get that aggressive. Like, I feel like that's just a confidence thing coming out. Obviously, they've had a great first defensive round, and I think they're thinking, we've got this one here. What we need to not do now is throw it away. We don't want to be giving up lives too early in the round. We'll take our opportunities when they're presented to us. I don't know. That's just the feeling that I get with it. Because as you say, yes, you know, the opportunity would normally be there to really get aggressive. And we saw that in the last round. So why not double down and try to take those peaks? But as it happens, Black Dragons, they were more than ready for it. So probably the right decision from FURIA to just take the foot off the gas a little bit in the early round.
A lot of ground being taken over here by Black Dragons. There are going to be C4s below, which Rare is going to try and work with now. Obviously, with Valkyrie being available, there's a chance that there's a Valkyrie camera upstairs. And Rare could try and work with that. He's going to be holding inside of train for the meantime. I'm going to be searching out all of that utility on IQ and the scanner. As Rare just moves his way on through. FURIA have all but given up this top floor control, and if Black Dragons really get a read of that, they could start to cause quite a mess up there. If they get resets in and get him swinging that sledgehammer around, regardless of the C4s that are below, a lot of damage could be caused there.
You're right, it's almost as if FURIA are resigning themselves to having to just play on the reverse of those vertical angles, and it's always a risky game. As we've said, the favour always seems to sit with the player who has the greater elevation in Siege. Now, Rare's just watching for that balcony drop there inside of pillars. We've even got players down on the very bottom floor there as well from FURIA, and it could be one of those big brain strategies, or it could be one that we'll look back on and say, actually, they left their men a little bit shy inside of sight. Now, Lender, he's looking to get aggressive. Out comes the flashbang. That's going to hit him full in the face, so he's going to have to dip away from that fight. And here comes that vertical pressure that we were speaking about, and it's just one angle after another. Perez, he locks down Miracle with the first kill. 24 seconds left to go. Perez is traded back out. Can FURIA hold on? That, for me, is the critical question here. That is the feeling. Can they hold on? Fantasy manages to find one from pillars up onto the balcony. Being pushed from the rotation. There goes Lender, and this is all going in favour of FURIA. He comes out with the big shotgun, finds one, finds two, shuts it down, and that's a triple for Lender on the round. And FURIA, even after giving up top floor control for over a minute, somehow still locked down reading, and they teach Black Dragons a lesson.
You could see in that final kill cam as well just how little had been done to the ceiling of reading. The floor upstairs had barely been touched. We didn't see a lot of renovation work going in at all from Black Dragons. And as such, it gave players like Lender somewhere to sit to pick up a couple of really impactful kills as a very disjointed push came through, as the hand of time was pushing the players of Black Dragons into that situation. There wasn't a lot of time left. 10 seconds and you're trying to get the plant, well, you're trying to get the diffuser in, you're trying to rotate players through, you're dropping into laundry. It isn't a lot of time to start executing with, especially when you haven't really done anything vertically to significantly deal with the players on side of the site. FURIA, now they go upstairs, now they roll the dice upstairs on this top floor, but so far their defenses have been very good indeed.
They certainly have, and this is probably the big question mark for Black Dragons now. I feel that this is the sort of now or never point for them, because if you're able to get this one over the line, you look at them 2 sites that they've just defended and you think, which one of those is Black Dragons going to be able to come out and win? Are they going to be able to win both of them? Because they're going to have to. Simple as that. And so for me, I'm not sure that that's the case. And I think that's going to take a weight off FURIA, because even if they can't get bar and cocktail done, they've still got kitchen and reading to go back to, which they've just been very comfortable on both of them. And so for me, Black Dragons, it's real backs to the wall time. And I don't feel like they've got many opportunity for mistakes here. They're going to be punished if they make them.
In creeps that mentality as well now for Black Dragons. You know, they're in a very tough situation. This is it doesn't start to become must win just yet, but I agree, Tim. It's getting to that point of like, if you ain't winning this, you're diminishing your chances significantly, because it's going to put FURIA onto a match point. You're then going to have to push it all the way to an OT and do a lot of things that we haven't seen you do just yet. FURIA, what do they do in this situation? Bring out the castle. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it. Get Fantasy on the castle. No one will expect a thing. Why would Fantasy pick the UMP? I don't think that that's a gun that he's probably likes very much. I don't think anybody likes it very much. But the castle barricades already have slowed Black Dragons down in their approach. The bulletproof camera as well, going to provide a little bit of intel. And, well, for the first time in a long time, we see Black Dragons actually pick up an opening kill. They're able to take down Lender. And a second, Patoxy. He's able to work that skylight. This is why the top floor is not a good sight.
Absolutely not, and it's a great start from Black Dragons. It's absolutely what they needed, but look at that from Fantasy. What were you saying about the UMP? He's certainly more than happy with that one in hand, as he absolutely rips the head off the shoulders of Patoxy and brings us back to a 3 versus 4. He's still playing in behind a Goyo shield in barback storage, so he can afford to get a little bit aggressive. Challenge from Cigar. I don't know how Fantasy hasn't died yet. He's just been peeking every single angle. He's unstoppable right now.
He looks like Muhammad Ali when he's bobbing and weaving, just trying to keep his head out of dodge. He drops to the prone and eventually it will be finished off. Resets. He cleans Fantasy up there. Quite rightly so, honestly. Fantasy was playing with fire, and I think that FURIA have probably relaxed into the fact that they've got a good round advantage here, and they're probably not too worried about dropping one on a site that is very difficult to defend. But we still have Rare, we still have Miracle. There is a plant that is going to start going down. Perez will take down Rare, so it does leave a lot to do here for Miracle. He gets a Toxic Babe canister out there, but ultimately he isn't able to find anybody. Perez comes in with those final couple of kills. He had a Z ping to work from as well. Much better stuff from Black Dragons.
Much better indeed, and it was the round that they really needed. They had to get that one won, but there is 2 tough ones coming up for them. Kitchen and Reading now will be the primary and secondary site that FURIA will almost certainly use, but as I'm saying that, X, I'm looking at the board in front of us, and it looks like we're going to Fireplace Mining.
This is a weird one, because you would expect, if they're willing to go to this site after Reading. And
I'd have agreed.
And not go top floor. Not give the chance for Black Dragons to become one round away. Now we get catapulted back into unknown territory, a site that we haven't seen FURIA. Okay, it defends very similarly to, Reading Room. It's not too dissimilar in that regard. It's just got a bit more opportunity for a cheeky jump in from that bakery bakery roof area. So yeah, a bit of a strange choice from FURIA, but I guess we'll see how it plays. They're obviously feeling pretty confident with themselves.
They must be feeling something. They must have something in the back pocket. And this is what we were wondering about Kafe. It's been a constant ban for FURIA almost. So I would have to say it looks like a map that they're reasonably confident at playing. They've come in and pretty much dominated Black Dragons in some of these rounds. So then that logic follows to say that they've been banning it because they wanted to keep it off the radar. And if that's the case, something like this mining defense could be the jewel in their crown, where they think, you know what, when we get to that position where it's time to take it over the line, where it's time to get that win and get us onto match point, then maybe this is the one that they bring out, the little pocket strat that they just know that they're going to get away with, or that at least they've got confidence in doing so. As you say, it's a little bit more exposed externally with that window directly into sight, so that's something that FURIA do need to manage. But I would imagine there's going to be a top floor presence once again, and that was something that they excelled at last time. They wasted time up there and then just dropped away for that final minute. They didn't give up any lives up there. I thought that they played it pretty well.
Yeah, they really did, and they've got a couple of nice tools in the arsenal now to try and assist that as well. They've gone for a kind of trap-heavy lineup in terms of the Legion and, of course, the Malusi. They're two things that are going to slow down an approach and slow down a push, and they've been brought with an intention. Fancy's been taken out again. That's some hella early aggression that Fancy is showing. He's on the alibi, so he's obviously feeling his shot at the moment. He's kind of gone from one extreme to the other, right? The UMP to the MX4 Storm in terms of fire rate. I'm not sure if it gets much more disparate than that, but he hasn't been successful there in that early defense and has instead been taken down. It's forced Furia to drop as Lender's been chunked down as well. Now, C4 kill onto Ion will do something to relieve the pressure and the stress that Furia are feeling, but they haven't got any control of that top floor, and they've only got one C4 in pocket.
Definitely some work for Furia to do here. Resets. He's been downed somewhere else in the map, and Miracle, he's going to finish that kill with the shotgun. That's giving Furia the advantage that they needed. Now 4 versus 3, managing to overturn that early kill onto Fantasy. But vertical control is no longer theirs. Black Dragons now have the run of the top floor and can start applying pressure to site. But we saw this previously, X. They gave it up in reading room, and it was no concern to them whatsoever live. He's going to transfer himself onto the bakery roof and look to start using that window that we spoke about, potentially stop the defenders moving around as much. The vertical angles. One reason that teams use vertical angles is to move defenders. You open up above common spots where players like to sit, and it forces them to move. So then, if you've got a crossfire established, you've got somebody on a window ready to challenge them, that is the dream.
And that's what Miracle is feeling right now as he gets pinched and pushed. Taken down by Patoxy. He does manage to take down Live prior to that. Rare, a beautiful little flank. He's able to deal a little bit of damage and shut down Perez. Essentially a 3 versus 1 now. Live being downed. Unlikely to be picked up as he is going to be inside of the site. Patoxy, he doesn't have a great deal of information or time to be working with here. Pre-fires are going to start to come on through. Patoxy's got to hit his shots, and he's got to hit them all now. All this round is going to run out on time. Furia, what patience they show. They don't even try and thirst after that final kill. They know that the diffuser is down in the site, and they know that they have a significant advantage. It's going to put them onto a map and a series point.
I was thinking exactly the same there for the last few seconds. The Valkyrie that we just saw a beautiful view of, not challenging onto those red stairs, just giving a little peek here and there to say, I'm still here, you still can't move forward, and just watching that time tick away. It was very clear that they were just playing the clock at that point, and perfectly done from Furia. As you say now, they've got 2 bites at the cherry here, X, and they've got 2 great sites to go at. They're going to go back to reading room once again, but they've always got kitchen in the back pocket as well, which they won very, very convincingly back in round 7. So right now, Black Dragons, this is it. It's now or never. Time to shine. There are no more mistakes. You got to win the next 2 to get yourself to overtime, to keep yourself fighting. Kafe was, of course, the Black Dragons map pick, but Furia have absolutely dominated on defense.
Furia have. They've really run away with this one on the defense, and we kind of suspected that that would be the case when we saw a 3-3 split come out from Black Dragons on their defensive half. We were thinking, this doesn't look ideal. You need to be taking a lion's share of those rounds, and so far that's what Furia have done. They've only dropped 1 round since getting onto the defense themselves, and now they're in a position to take this match, well, this map and this match, and advance on through into our semi-finals tomorrow. So a big round here for Black Dragons. It keeps them in it. It keeps them in it, sorry. And obviously, the way that Chalet was so closely contested, I don't think we were anticipating Kafe to be this sort of clear cut.
We certainly weren't. To be fair, I expected, if anything, Chalet to be the clearer cut. I thought that Furia would come out and win that one convincingly, but absolutely not. They've come and shown a real mastery here, and I'm sure that there's going to be teams sitting up and taking notice of Furia on Kafe now, because, of course, without seeing them play it, there was that little bit of a question mark in the brain as to just exactly how is their performance going to be on Kafe live. Unlucky there. The man just strafing before he put that shot through the barricade. Would have been very, very close to taking what I would presume would be the Jaeger of Fantasy down from behind that shield.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that Fantasy dies from that position. He's not had a great deal of luck there so far in the past 3 rounds. Instead, he's going to look to drop himself back and keep himself alive for a little bit longer here inside of this one. FURIA again giving up a lot of that top floor control and saying, look, you know, if you want it, come and take it. We've got a C4 that we're going to try and work with below. We've got a bit of intel kicking around as well. And we're more than happy for you to move through now into Piano and start working it, because they've got good, solid foundations that they're ready to lean back on into. Highs is still going to be playing upstairs. Unsure at the moment where his yokais are. He's going to be assisted by Lender as well. They've just got a couple of ADSs, a couple of shields, and that's really everything that they are trying to achieve there now. Of course, the IQ of Ion could be searching out for those yokais, as we're seeing Toxic Babe canister gas get tossed on out as well. Perez does get himself chunked down, but at the moment, nothing too much to worry about.
FURIA just holding fast. 1 minute 15 left to go. 5 defenders still on the board. We've got yokai drones. They've got utility that they can play behind. And this is all looking stacked in their favour right now. Lender, he's possibly going to get challenged on the white stairs here. But Miracle, he manages to, before that happens, find a kill with a nitro onto Perez. Advantage FURIA. Black Dragons, you just feel like they're on a slippery slope. Lender, he needs to be careful not to overextend himself here, because if he does, he might just find himself falling foul of the man on the mezzanine of white stairs, because he's surely going to know that he's there given the laser sight that keeps poking out. Now, out goes the Toxic Babe canister. It will be a little bit far up the stairs to do any damage to Ion. I'm just wondering whether Lender's actually aware of the position or not, and that's a much better placement of that canister.
Well, we saw Lender have a huge thing to say previously inside of this round, and he's going to be kicking things off here and now. Takes down Live, ends up his second, and takes down Ion as well. Patoxy from the top rope is going to find one, but he is the last man standing here. There are 7 seconds left. He picks himself up too. This isn't beyond the realms of possibility, but it isn't going to be easy. Picks up the triple, but Rare there to pick up the pieces. FURIA, they do it. They take down Black Dragons here on Kafe.
Dominating in style there, but you've got to say that the end of the match felt much more one-sided than the beginning. I thought after that game on Chalet we were going to have a much closer competition between Black Dragons and FURIA here, fighting out for that Mexico major position. But what we can say is that FURIA, after qualifying for the 6 Invitational and putting up a great performance, they've doubled down X, and they're showing that their growth continues, and they have continued to grow and continued to qualify for these big events, and that is the Mexico major position secured.
It's a very big qualification there for FURIA. You can see just what it means to them. Look at Rare there inside of the player camera. 2-0. Everybody looking very pleased with themselves, and they really ought to be. FURIA have put in a big shift there. Very deserved of this spot. They sailed through the stage 2, and they were able to establish themselves a very good position, locking Copa nice and early. And here and now, they've been able to advance on through to, of course, the semi-finals. And with that, it locks them into that major spot. So those guys are going to be very, very thrilled indeed. We're going to bring Riley back in here. We're going to have a bit of a discussion, and we maybe just have a chat with Twister from FURIA.
What a performance from FURIA there, and look, congratulations on snagging that spot at the August Major. Looking forward to seeing FURIA, who again, Ace, they've just been on the up and up, like the momentum, the wind in their sails. They've really been a team that almost like they've got something to prove, right? Like they've got a real agenda they're trying to push on us here.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people won't know about FURIA. They've got a really good setup there going on. They've got an academy team. They bring players through. They've got the backroom staff that they need. They've got everything in place to succeed. And that's exactly what we're starting to see come to fruition. Remember, this is a team that were in the relegation spots at the end of 2020. They then came through the open qualifiers to qualify for 6 Invitational. Still, people were thinking there's got to be a bit of luck involved. But no, they've continued to perform and to excel. They made it to the Copa Elite 6 in Stage 1. They didn't manage to get through to the knockout stages, but that developmental curve continues here in Stage 2, as this time not only have they made it to those knockout stages, they've made it to the semi-final, they've made it to the major. FURIA just go from strength to strength.
Absolute huge moment for this team, and I know they'll be beside themselves. We are standing by waiting for an interview with Twister, but before that, Ollie, I mean, you're a fan of this team, I know, and you must just be so pleased with the performance they've put on, because, you know, as Ace was saying, how much luck was involved? Luck can only take you so far. Furia has shown they've got what it takes to run with the big dogs.
I think that's the key difference, and Furia are in a very fortunate position, as are a lot of the teams inside of Brazil, in that they're playing against some of the best competition in the world, and that is one of the things that is going to drive you, and it is going to make you better. You know, when you've got players like Nesk and Palu and Psycho and Julio and all those guys to look up to, and you're sat there as fantasy and you've watched them play for years and years, and now you're in the same league and you're challenging, you're contesting. It's real dream stuff for Furia, I'm sure. So they've got a very good environment there to start fostering and start building from, because they're playing against some of the best teams in the world, and it's rubbing off.
That's right. I mean, the hottest fire forges the hardest steel, and we have seen Furia really step up here and make their mark, and they will be going, as we've said, to the August Major. We're joined by Twister. No, excuse me. We are joined by Twister now. It looks like we're going to be able to get the chance to have a chat with people from the team itself and get a sense of what's going through their heads. Congratulations on the win. A huge moment for Team Furia. Twister, talk us through the mood at the camp right now. You blokes must be just over the moon.
I don't think he can hear you at the moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might be struggling.
We may be having some issues with,
now hearing.
with connecting ourselves to Twister here, but stand by and we'll get that sorted. Looks like we do have Twister online right now. Twister, mate, I was just saying congratulations. A huge moment for Team Furia. You've worked so hard. Talk to us about the mood in the camp. You must just be so pleased.
Yeah, we are really happy. Just can't say much about it. My team is amazing. I believe so much in these boys, and we have a great future. Hello, are you guys hearing me? Hello. Hello.
Looks like we
Can
are
you
having
guys
some
hear me?
issues there. We do apologise for that. A couple of gremlins in the back end that are standing in the way of us in an interview there. But look, I'm sure we all understand that this is just a momentous occasion for Furia, a team on the verge of relegation, a team that was fighting for their lives and now really striking out as one of the major players here in this competition, in this region. And indeed, if things go right for them at the major, maybe in the entire world, Furia here, Ace, have just, have again, really impressed people with a win that, I don't know, let's talk about what we saw in Kafe there. What were your thoughts on that one? After such a hard-fought battle in Chalet, we saw something very different in Kafe, right?
We certainly did, and I think, you know, the point that I made at the end of Chalet was that we'd seen a team performance out of Furia and a good few individual performances out of Black Dragons, and you can't rely on getting maps won with individual performances. You know, you've got to have that team play, you've got to have that cohesiveness, and Furia, they've just had longer to develop that. It's not a criticism of Black Dragons, and as I said before the game, really, it felt like maybe Black Dragons had just come to the sort of natural end of their progression here. They've got a couple of new people inside of the roster. Get into the quarterfinals of the Copa Elite 6 Stage 2 is absolutely fantastic achievement anyway, but it just felt like it was time now for Furia to push forward.
Looks like we do have things sorted out. We're going to head back to the interview with Twister now. We do apologise once again for everyone. Thanks for bearing with us and for your patience while we work through these issues.
Hello, everyone.
Twister, mate, yes, we've got you now. Congratulations once again. We'll try it one more time, my friends. I don't think we were able to hear anything you were saying before.
Thank you.
Well done on the win. Well done on the qualification. You boys must be just wrapped.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my team, what we are achieving, individually and as a team. This team is amazing. I said that a few minutes ago, but the microphone was not helping.
I think Twister, maybe something that I wanted to sort of ask straight from the off is, we were a little bit surprised about the Kafe pick. Is that something that you guys were anticipating? Because you looked very well prepared for it today.
Yeah, because we had a few bans in the map during the BR6 main stage, and we imagined that they would pick some maps, some different maps, but they were not playing it. So it was like a bait. We were screaming this map and practicing it, but they just to see if they would pick it to surprise us, but it was not a surprise.
Twister, nice to speak again. Every time we speak, you seem to be winning something. So, you know, maybe there's something in that. But look, I remember a couple of months ago, you said to me in an interview, "We're going to lift that hammer one day." That's what you said. And I mean, I can't argue with that. You keep getting closer and closer. You now go into the major in Mexico. Do you think that'd be a nice first step?
Yeah, of course, it was a nice first step, and maybe you are our lucky charm. You know, as you said, every time that you are casting, so probably that's it. But yeah, we have to start from somewhere, and I'm really happy how the team is improving and being like more mature players. You know, we had this problem here in the beginning because they were so young and inexperienced, but we tried to manage it to get a better team in the future, and that's what we are getting here.
A team on the rise then, FURIA. Once again, Twister, congratulations. We are looking forward to another huge performance from you in the future. Well done on the win, and congratulations on the qualification. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, good to hear from Twister there, and you can tell that FURIA really just a team that is one that we're just going to have to watch very closely from here on out, because the momentum that they've gained, the legitimacy, the authenticity that we've seen from their play, the fact that they are, as I said, able to run with the big dogs here, certainly tend to keep an eye on, as I say. We're going to take a quick break. We've got another match coming your way as we continue our coverage of the LATAM League final. Certainly great to have you along with us, and we do hope you'll stick around for our second quarterfinal coming up in just a few moments. We're going to take a quick break, as I say, get everything lined up, and we'll be back with more Siege after this.